Chapter 51. First time on an alien planet. Although Kara appeared resolute, the testing process wasn't something that could be done in one go. Some critical information and potential issues needed to be addressed beforehand. This was often referred to as putting unpleasant facts up front. Watching the eager Kara, Alex took out the time pad and began to speak. In a moment, I'll open a portal. The other side of the portal leads to an unknown planet. I can only guarantee that the planet's ecosystem is very similar to Earth's and that it is under the light of a red sun. However, I cannot guarantee its safety. Seeing Kara about to say something, Alex raised his hand to signal her not to interrupt and continued speaking. I understand your determination, but I need to make these things clear to you. The main purpose of this test is to see if the red sun radiation there affects Kryptonians. However, this carries significant risks. If the red sun radiation there is stronger than expected, it could be fatal. Alex wasn't exaggerating. The climate between planets is just the basics, the radiation from different stars is the most significant factor affecting this test. Kara had already been strengthened by the yellow sun. If she were suddenly exposed to radiation stronger than Krypton's original sun, it would be like plunging red-hot metal into ice water. The drastic difference could even threaten Kara's life. This was only the surface-level threat. Having experienced the Ruin universe, Alex viewed the abilities of various superhumans as time bombs that could potentially destroy their users at any moment. Take solar radiation, for instance. Radiation is difficult to detect and confirm, and every individual's constitution varies. If Kara were allergic to the red sun radiation there, she would face certain death, a result Alex desperately wanted to avoid. Because the destination of this trip was highly dangerous, Alex hoped Kara would make her own decision. No need to say more, I'm going. Kara's answer was still the same. Her resolute demeanor made Alex admire her determination. Perhaps hatred really could fuel one's inner strength. Seeing Kara's disregard for life and death, Alex no longer hesitated. He found the marked locations its tomb on the time pad screen and pressed the button to start the journey. In the next moment, the air in front of Alex and Kara began to tremble rapidly. Then a purple rectangular energy barrier unfolded, standing like a door in front of them. Looking at this passage to an unknown planet, Kara, despite her firm words, felt a bit nervous. After all, she had been imprisoned for so many years, and her mental age was still around that of a young teenager when she first arrived on Earth. Alex, too, felt nervous but quickly adjusted his mindset. Looking at the purple portal, he was convinced that this time pad had been modified. In his memory, the portals in the TV show Loki used by the Time Variance Authority were golden, quite different from the purple one he opened. Are you ready? I'll go first and check things out. Follow me. Alex glanced at Kara, then started walking towards the portal. Alex's thinking was simple. Since the planet's conditions were similar to Earth's, except for the red sun, he shouldn't have too strong a reaction. On the contrary, if Kara encountered any danger, he could kick her back through the portal. It might not sound elegant, but it was the only safety measure Alex could think of. Stepping into the purple portal, Alex felt nothing, as if the portal was just a hologram. But soon, a strong wind hit him, and in the blink of an eye, he found himself on a barren wasteland. He didn't rush forward. Alex even held his breath, as this was his first time on an alien planet. He was curious and cautious about everything, even needing a moment to build up the courage to breathe. Looking up, the red sunlight bathed the land. Unlike Earth's sun, this red sun wasn't too blinding. Alex could see irregular movements on its surface. Taking small breaths, Alex felt no discomfort in his lungs, which reassured him somewhat. It seemed this planet really was similar to Earth. Soon, there was movement behind Alex. He turned, ready for any emergency, worried Kara might face danger. Kara emerged from the portal, moving naturally and without the vigilance Alex showed. Her expression, however, was a bit stiff, likely due to nervousness. Alex, is this really an alien planet? Kara, initially nervous, was instantly captivated by the surroundings, marveling at the scene. They stood on a vast wasteland, with rocky ground and a few dry plants scattered about. In the distance, there were jagged rocks and massive boulders irregularly strewn across the ground. In the sky, besides the red sun, there were 4 large planets orbiting around, likely the planet's moons. There was also a visible asteroid belt, creating a spectacular view. Kara was sure this wasn't Earth, and the planet wasn't within Krypton's observable range, which was the most surprising aspect. Cross-galactic travel was something even Krypton didn't possess, but Alex could casually open a portal to another planet, a truly astounding ability. Yes, this is an alien planet. I feel fine, the environment here doesn't affect Earthlings much, even with a different Sunday. Alex paused, then asked, how about you? How do you feel? Seeing Alex ready to kick her at any moment, Kara couldn't help but laugh. I feel nothing unusual. Is something wrong? Kara checked her hands, unsure. But when she looked up, she saw Alex pointing at her face, saying, are you sure you don't feel anything? You're bleeding from your nose. Chapter 52. Successful test. What? Kara was stunned for a moment and immediately raised her hand to touch under her nose. Soon, she saw the blood on her fingers, but what puzzled her was that she didn't feel any discomfort from the nosebleed. Just as she was about to say something, Kara suddenly felt a constraint in her chest. The next moment, a huge wave of dizziness hit her, making it hard for her to stand. She felt a sweetness in her throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. This scared Alex. Although he had anticipated such a scenario, seeing it unfold before his eyes left him a bit at a loss. Kara, are you all right? Hang in there, I'll get you back. Seeing that Kara could barely stand, Alex quickly went to support her. This time, the feel of her body under his hand relieved him a bit. Under normal circumstances, Kara's body was extremely tough, with only a layer of skin being soft and the muscles beneath being firm, giving her the so-called man of steel physique. However, now Alex noticed that her skin and muscles had softened, feeling like a normal girl's. It seemed his test had succeeded. The red sun here indeed could override the yellow sun's enhancement, transforming Kryptonian physiology into that of ordinary people. Now, all he needed to do was ensure Kara's safety. Fortunately, Kara was right next to the portal, so even if something happened, they could return quickly for emergency treatment. However, supported by Alex, Kara showed no intention of going back. She shook her head and, after taking a long breath, said weakly, no need to go back. I'm fine. Are you sure? Your condition isn't good right now. We can't be certain how long your body can hold out here. What if prolonged exposure leaves some hidden issues? Alex asked seriously. I'm really fine. It's just that my body isn't used to reverting to its previous state so suddenly. Kara waved her hand to assure Alex. I understand my body well. Though I don't know where you found this planet, I can tell you it's very similar to Krypton. Really? Alex was intrigued. Sort of. I mean, not that this planet is like Krypton, but its sunlight is nearly identical to Krypton's, albeit with some differences. So, I want to stay a bit longer to observe. Kara released Alex's hand and took a few steps forward. Seeing Kara's actions, Alex didn't object. Since she insisted, he let her continue with the test. So far, everything seemed fine, though any long-term effects were still unknown. Kara walked back and forth a couple of meters before returning. She clenched her fists and jumped in place, seemingly trying to see if her biofield could still support her levitation. As expected, she failed. Without the man of steel body, her biofield wouldn't remain intact either. Kara continued testing, jumping and running for about 10 minutes while Alex silently watched. For such specific tests, Alex had no suggestions, so he let Kara do it her way. Soon, Kara stopped and approached Alex. It's about what I expected. Although the red sun radiation weakens us Kryptonians, it doesn't entirely strip us of our powers. My physical strength is still somewhat above that of Earth humans. Maybe the red sun still retains some energy, Alex speculated, then asked, can you quantify how much stronger you are? Maybe 3 to 5 times stronger than humans. I can't give an exact number, but I'm sure that Kryptonians here are far weaker than on Earth, perhaps by 1,000-fold. We might really have a chance to avenge my cousin. Despite her weak tone, Kara was visibly excited. The test results gave Kara hope for revenge, and Alex nodded in agreement. Being 3 to 5 times stronger than humans didn't seem overly impressive, especially for someone accustomed to mutants. Such strength didn't make generals it a significant threat anymore. After the test, Alex and Kara quickly returned to Wayne Manor. Before leaving the planet, Alex collected many stones from the rocky desert there. These stones might not be as potent as true kryptonite, but long-term exposure to red sunlight imbued them with significant radiation, which would be useful against Kryptonian forces. At least, the fight for Earth's defense wouldn't be entirely one-sided anymore. When they returned to the manor, it was already dark outside. Not because Alex and Kara had spent too long away, but because heavy clouds had gathered, pouring rain onto the windows with a thunderous sound. It seemed the plan to restore Barry Allen's speed force was underway. However, old Batman had underestimated Gotham's weather. After a few clear days, his artificial rain had plunged Gotham back into its typical gloom, likely lasting for the next month. How do you feel now? Any discomfort? Alex asked, putting the stones on a table far from Kara. Stop worrying. I'm not as fragile as you think. Kara shook her head and sighed. It feels like carrying a heavy burden compared to before. Without sunlight, I recover more slowly. No problem. Once Barry regains his speed force, I'll have Bruce take you on a flight for some sunlight, so you can recover faster. As they spoke, a flash of light suddenly illuminated the darkened Wayne Manor, followed by a deafening thunderclap. The sound was so startling that both Alex and Kara looked toward the Batcave, realizing it must be a critical moment in Barry Allen's Speed Force restoration plan. Chapter 53. A Chilling Gaze. When Alex and Kara arrived at the Batcave, the plan to restore Barry Allen's Speed Force had already been successfully completed. With Batman's full assistance, the older Barry Allen sat in a specially made steel chair, surrounded by various chemical agents meant to replicate the conditions under which he originally gained his speed force. Additionally, a metal conductor cable connected the back of the steel chair to a bat kite soaring high in the sky. Calling it a kite wasn't quite accurate since it was constructed from various high-tech components. Its purpose was to generate charge at high altitudes, attracting electricity from the clouds and drawing lightning. The plan went smoothly. A lightning bolt as thick as a barrel struck the bat kite, and the fierce voltage instantly coursed through the conductor, hitting Barry Allen's body. The terrifying energy seemed capable of tearing him apart in an instant. At that crucial moment, thanks to Alex's earlier warning, the younger Barry Allen knew it was time to act. He immediately activated his speed force time, and in an instant, everything around him froze as if someone had stopped time. Seeing the electric current rapidly descending along the conductor, the younger Barry Allen didn't hesitate and began to run. Speed force lightning erupted from him, resonating with the thunderous sky. Everything seemed to freeze at the moment the two Barry Allens made contact. An extraordinarily powerful and elusive energy erupted, yet it was invisible and intangible, so almost no one could feel how wild it had been. Neither Barry Allen noticed, but the entire Batcave had almost been torn open by an uncontrollable time vortex. This information appeared on Alex's time controller as a message from Miss Time. Otherwise, Alex wouldn't have realized how dangerous this lightning plan was. Fortunately, the result was satisfactory. As the speed force within older Barry Allen's body reactivated, the ghastly scars from the lightning rapidly healed before everyone's eyes. Witnessing this astonishing scene, even old Batman couldn't help but come closer for a better look. It was his first time seeing someone with such powerful abilities, a rarity in Gotham City. What did we miss? As old Bruce Wayne, young Barry Allen, and Pietro were examining the still unconscious Barry Allen, Alex and Kara walked over. Seeing them, young Barry Allen was very excited. We did it. His injuries have all healed, but for some reason, he hasn't woken up yet. That's normal. Reactivating the speed force isn't simple. His body and cells need to readjust to the power. Think of it as his body restarting, Alex explained casually. Oh, I see. Young Barry Allen nodded, though he didn't fully understand, but accepted Alex's explanation. Old Batman, assured that Barry Allen was no longer in danger, turned his attention to Alex and Kara. Unlike the others, Bruce Wayne hadn't seen an alien, especially one so human-like, in decades. It seems our Kryptonian girl has also recovered, old Bruce Wayne remarked meaningfully. Alex nodded and stepped aside to reveal Kara to the others. I haven't introduced everyone yet. This is Kara Zor-El, a true Kryptonian and cousin to the Superman Barry Allen mentioned. Hello, I'm Pietro, from another universe, Pietro said enthusiastically, worried about an awkward silence. Young Barry Allen and Bruce Wayne also introduced themselves and briefly explained the unconscious Barry Allen to Kara. However, they all seemed to forget an important detail. Each of them had various experiences. Alex and Pietro had just escaped from other universes, and Batman had been Gotham's protector for decades. Even young Barry Allen had faced his doppelganger. But Kara was different. Since being sent to Earth and crash landing near the Soviet border at 15, she had barely interacted with anyone. For her, Concepts like the multiverse were just theories from Kryptonian scientists. So, these seemingly ordinary introductions were a huge shock to Kara's sheltered mind. Perhaps because it was her first interaction with these people, Kara felt a bit reserved. Having already trusted Alex, she leaned closer to him after the introductions, wide-eyed with curiosity. "Alex, what do you mean I'm the cousin of the Superman Barry mentioned? And what does it mean that Pietro is from another universe? Are we talking about parallel universes?" Alex felt a bit overwhelmed. These topics were genuinely complex to explain and required a detailed logical framework. But before Alex could answer, young Barry Allen enthusiastically explained everything to Kara in one breath. As Alex expected, when Kara heard that the universe's impending doom was due to Barry Allen deciding to travel through time to save his mother, her expression darkened. "So you're saying that under normal circumstances, my cousin wouldn't have died, right?" A dangerous light flashed in Kara's eyes, and the three men, led by young Barry Allen, instantly felt the piercing chill of her gaze. The oppressive atmosphere made it hard for them to breathe. Seeing this, young Barry Allen quickly tried to smooth things over. What I mean is, it was an accident, right? And in a way, it's a good thing, isn't it? Because in the original timeline, you wouldn't have existed at all." Chapter 54. Kara's Heartache and the Multiverse Theory. Young Barry Allen's somewhat loose explanation was clearly unable to convince Kara. As a devoted sister, Kara was extremely protective of her beloved cousin, willing to sacrifice her life for his safety. For instance, the reason she was willing to risk her life for the test earlier was undoubtedly to avenge her cousin. So, upon learning that her cousin could have lived a very happy life on Earth, but it was all destroyed due to someone's selfish act, how could she not be furious? Kara's thoughts were simple. If Kal could live happily on Earth, be worshipped by its people, and become the Superman they spoke of, what did it matter if that world didn't include her? This nearly pathological mindset was something Alex had noticed early on. After all, he had encountered many mutant lunatics before. For someone like Kara, who had been subjected to experiments since she was 15, it would be miraculous if she didn't develop any psychological issues after being locked up for so many years. Based on Alex's assessment, the pain of losing her home and loved ones in her childhood made Kara channel all her will to live into caring for her cousin. Beyond that, she couldn't find any other motivation to continue living. Moreover, she was the older sister, and it was her responsibility to take care of her younger brother. At 15, she naively believed they were the last survivors of Krypton. However, she never expected that after their stasis pods activated, her brother would be intercepted midway while she crash-landed on Earth and became a test subject. Years of imprisonment engraved the thought: find a way out, locate her brother, and raise him deeply into her psyche, turning into a horrific heartache. It was as if she had died the day she crashed on Earth, and now was living solely for her brother. So, I was right. My brother didn't have to die. Kara's eyes reddened as she looked at the unconscious Barry Allen, her gaze filled with hatred. Well. Young Barry Allen was frantically signaling Bruce Wayne for help, but the old Batman didn't even glance his way, silently sitting aside as if watching a show. At this moment, Alex sighed softly, immediately catching Kara's attention, while young Barry Allen gave Alex a grateful look. "Alex, tell me, is this really true?" Kara's voice was cold. "It's not like that." Alex glanced at Kara. He could feel that Kara's current state was indeed unstable. Perhaps she might help humanity kill General Zod for her brother's revenge, but next, she might turn on Barry Allen. Recalling the movie's portrayal of the multiverse in the DC universe, Alex, like Batman, used the example of spaghetti. "Kara, you might have heard of parallel universes or the multiverse on Krypton. I can tell you that these concepts are real, and speedsters can indeed create multiverse splits by altering the past." Mr. Bruce Wayne mentioned an interesting theory before. When Barry Allen uses the Speed Force to travel back and change history, a branch timeline appears. However, Mr. Wayne believes that altering history creates a focal point, causing dual line modifications. In other words, both the future and the past are changed. "So, what's your point?" Kara frowned slightly. "My point is, this theory is both correct and incorrect." Alex paused, then shared his thoughts. "Has anyone considered that when a timeline splits, it creates at least two futures? Which world does the Barry Allen who altered history return to? Is the so-called altered universe truly overwritten?" As he spoke, Alex looked at young Barry Allen. Let's say Barry Allen didn't accidentally arrive at this time point but traveled directly back to his era. If you grew up in a stable family with both parents, what would happen to you when you reach Barry's age? Young Barry Allen was stunned by this question and didn't know how to answer. Fortunately, Alex didn't intend to make him answer but continued. There are only two explanations. Either Barry Allen never returned to this universe's future, or one day in the future, the current Barry Allen will possess you. Then, you won't be you anymore. This statement shocked young Barry Allen, a fear creeping up from the bottom of his heart. No one wants to be possessed, even by another version of themselves. But that's just one possibility, right? Batman interjected. Yes, it's just one possibility. But I think a more likely scenario is that this focal point created more than two universes. One is the original universe, Barry's universe, where he has disappeared and ended up here, a doomed universe. Looking at Kara, Alex continued. So, I believe in the universe Barry originally came from, your cousin is still alive. Unfortunately, in this universe, your cousin died. My condolences. Kara had been silent since earlier, but her expression had significantly softened. Though Kara had some psychological issues, it didn't mean she was irrational or blind. However, she was somewhat stubborn and not easily persuaded. Everyone's eyes were on Kara. Despite her young appearance, the pressure she exerted on everyone present was immense, so they all waited for her response. Finally, Kara looked up, meeting Alex's eyes and breaking the silence. How can you prove this? As you can see, Pietro and I are wanderers in the multiverse. If I know about you, your cousin, and Krypton, it means I've encountered you in other universes. Really? Kara's eyes finally brightened. You've really met my cousin? Knowing Kara could tell if he was lying, Alex smiled slightly. Of course. I saw him defeat General Zod with his own hands in another universe. Chapter 55. Batman's Vigilance. Eventually, after a long silence, Kara gradually calmed down. She quietly walked to a corner and sat down, like a discarded doll. It was hard to imagine that this was the same girl who had just released enough pressure to suppress everyone present. Kara lowered her head, deep in thought. Alex glanced at Kara, who had hidden herself in the shadows, then quickly looked away. Alex didn't intend to comfort or help her, not because he was heartless, but because he understood that Kara's issues were psychological and couldn't be cured with a few words. Besides, he wasn't capable of that. There are many types of psychological issues, but they broadly fall into two categories. One involves having unresolved issues that need understanding, reassurance, extensive talking, and medication. The other is a pure illness that cannot be assisted through communication and can only be treated with medication. Kara belonged to the latter category. Unfortunately, Earth didn't have any medication that could treat Kryptonians, so the only way for her to heal was to reconcile with herself and come out of her inner turmoil. For now, it was best to let her be. As for what comes next, they would deal with it after handling General Zod. After a pause, Alex took out a backpack containing alien stones similar in function to kryptonite. Seeing the puzzled looks from the others, Alex explained. Kryptonians' physiology is different from humans. Our weapons can't effectively harm them. To take them down, we need to use their weapons or these minerals carrying red solar radiation. The others gathered around to examine these seemingly ordinary stones. Old Bruce Wayne, a master of weaponry, quickly understood their purpose from Alex's words. He picked up one stone and scrutinized it, finding it visually ordinary with nothing special, though further tests would be needed to determine its true properties. These look like ordinary rocks, young Barry Allen remarked after a long inspection. The stones are ordinary, but the radiation they carry is the key, old Batman replied. I don't know what red solar radiation is, but if its radiation can affect Kryptonians, I might be able to make some useful gadgets. Oh, I get it. So these stones are like silver bullets for Kryptonians, right? Just make bullets from these stones, or engrave them on bullets, and they can harm Kryptonians, young Barry said. You could put it that way, but their uses go beyond that. Alex smiled at young Barry and then looked at old Bruce Wayne. Bruce, Kryptonians are very powerful and fast. Bullets would be hard to hit them. If we can't hit them, these stones are useless. Bruce Wayne, one of the peak humans, skilled in dealing with all sorts of enemies, quickly grasped Alex's meaning. He glanced at the black umbrella behind Alex and smiled. You mean to integrate these stone fragments into fear toxin gas, using the gas to limit Kryptonians' abilities. Exactly. I just conducted a small experiment with Kara. The results show that these stones' radiation significantly weakens Kryptonians' physical attributes, including strength, speed, and reflexes. Though it won't make them ordinary humans, they won't be invulnerable. How many of these stones are there? Old Bruce Wayne asked. As many as you need, Alex replied casually. Hearing this, Batman immediately looked up, eyes locked onto Alex, who calmly met his gaze. Though Bruce Wayne had come to trust Alex and his group, he remained highly vigilant. As Gotham's guardian and currently the only superhero in this world, Batman had no habit of teaming up and had never faced such a large-scale situation. Previously, his adversaries were mostly lunatics, even those beyond normal human capabilities, but he could still deal with them. However, upon encountering people like Alex who could traverse time and the multiverse, old Batman felt a considerable amount of pressure. Alex and his team currently stood with Earth's side, but the world was vast and the multiverse endless. What if some maniacs also possessed these abilities? Could he still protect this world? So, upon Alex and his group's entry into Wayne Manor, Bruce conducted various covert surveillance, psychological assessments, and contingency plans. Young Barry Allen, trusting Batman implicitly, cooperated smoothly. Through tests on the two Barry Allens, Bruce had a basic understanding of the Speed Force. But testing Alex's abilities and Pietro's was a challenge. Pietro claimed his powers came from a mutant gene, humans gaining abilities through mutation, something Batman had never heard of. After several failed attempts to get Pietro to agree to a physical exam, Bruce gave up on analyzing his blood cells. He was more wary of Alex. The only reason he didn't take action because Alex was currently an ally. If they realized his intentions, it might cause unnecessary conflict. Moreover, Alex and Pietro's backgrounds were highly mysterious. Pietro mentioned a universe filled with despair, but nothing concrete about Alex's origin. Even Pietro couldn't clarify it. It seemed like Pietro was merely a companion Alex brought from another universe, which made old Batman even more cautious of Alex. Alex noticed Bruce Wayne's vigilance, which was understandable since Batman trusted no one. In the comics, because of the immense power of Justice League members, Batman feared they might one day threaten human safety. He recorded the weaknesses of all superheroes, except Green Arrow, to ensure he could control them if necessary. Sighing helplessly, Alex hadn't expected his first issue working with these superheroes to be a trust issue. With arms crossed, Alex addressed old Bruce Wayne. Chapter 56. The Beginning of War. Bruce, I don't expect you to trust me deeply, nor do I need you to believe in me. But at least we currently have a common enemy, and I will leave this universe after dealing with these matters. So, you don't need to focus too much on me and Pietro. Alex's tone was very calm. Deciding to leave this universe was something Alex had already planned. Although this universe might break free from its original shackles after dealing with General Zod and become a free timeline, developing smoothly, this was precisely why it was very dangerous for Alex. It was because this universe was free that anything could happen in the future. Even Alex himself couldn't guarantee his safety, let alone live peacefully in this universe. Furthermore, this universe was artificially created due to the Flash, making its safety significantly lower. Another apocalyptic disaster might emerge in just a few years. In fact, after young Barry Allen recharged the time pad, Alex could have left any time. He stayed only to lend a helping hand. After all, young Flash recharged his power, and Batman contributed his equipment. Listening to Alex's words, old Bruce Wayne remained very calm, raising only one question. I'm just curious, Alex, are you really not from some organization dedicated to protecting the multiverse? No, Alex said word by word. You misunderstood. As I said, I'm just a scavenger of the multiverse. Then there's nothing to worry about, old Bruce Wayne smiled, seemingly satisfied with the answer. He then stood up, picked up the bag with the stone on the table, and walked towards the laboratory in the Batcave. After taking a few steps, he turned his head and saw Alex not moving. He continued, "Follow me. I need more information about the Kryptonians and the specifics of our battle plan." "What about us?" Seeing Alex follow Bruce, young Barry Allen couldn't help but ask. After the earlier scene, he had a slight fear of Kara. "You stay here and take care of Barry Allen and Kara. Pietro, go get some food." After Alex finished speaking, he went into the laboratory with Batman. Meanwhile, on the other side, Barry Allen woke up from his coma the next morning. To everyone's relief, he had indeed regained his speed force. Not only that, but he also seemed to use the power of the speed force more fluently. The feeling of having his power back gave him some comfort after being anxious for so long. However, there was a small incident. After he woke up, Kara approached him and started discussing the creation of this parallel universe and the mistakes Barry Allen had made. Although Barry Allen seemed a bit dazed, he had been a superhero for a long time. Besides, he often acted with Batman and had grown a lot. So, he immediately realized that Kara was here to hold him accountable. Knowing how terrifying Kryptonians could be, Barry naturally didn't try to provoke Kara. He spoke cautiously, afraid of making the Kryptonian girl in front of him angry. Soon, under Barry's guidance, the conversation shifted from Kara looking for trouble to Barry telling Kara about Superman in another world. Of course, he hid the part about Superman perishing with Doomsday. This tactic worked well on Kara. Hearing that her cousin was living well in another parallel universe and even found a sister-in-law made Kara feel an indescribable sense of relief. "Can you take me to see him?" Kara asked. This question made Barry Allen's expression twist. "Kara, casually crossing timelines is extremely dangerous. I've deeply understood my mistake. So, I think you wouldn't want to make the same mistake, right? Can't we just see from a distance?" "I don't think so. I can cross timelines because of the speed force, but I'm far from being able to take someone else through time, let alone take you from this future to another future. It's simply impossible," Barry Allen said, spreading his hands. "Then how did Alex do it?" Kara glanced at Pietro playing with his phone and continued, "He and Alex can travel through different timelines and parallel universes freely. They're exceptions. Honestly, I want to know their backgrounds and how they travel through parallel universes without damaging those timelines even more than you do." Barry Allen rubbed his temples and then leaned closer to Kara, whispering. "You know, Alex once said he used specialized equipment to make crossing reasonable. So, I suspect they might be time-space police, managing people like me who disrupt timelines." Kara just rolled her eyes at Barry Allen's confident guess. Although she was young at heart, she wasn't stupid. If Alex were a time-space police, he would have acted when Barry Allen changed history, not wait until now. However, Kara did get some ideas about the specialized equipment Barry mentioned. She quickly thought of the strange device Alex had. Could it make crossing reasonable? Seeing Kara deep in thought, Barry Allen breathed a slight sigh of relief. Serving this big sister since waking up had been mentally and physically exhausting. Taking advantage of Kara's distraction, he quietly moved to the table and started devouring the food Pietro brought back. He was starving, especially after regaining his speedster abilities. At this moment, a breaking news report interrupted on the wall-mounted TV opposite the dining table. It was footage of a distant war scene. Although not very clear, one could vaguely see military planes and tanks constantly exploding. At the bottom of the news footage, a headline read, "Aliens Attack." Chapter 57. Heading to the battlefield. The emergency news instantly caught everyone's attention. Even the distracted Kara stood up, her eyes locked onto the TV screen. "They've started attacking," young Barry Allen exclaimed. Probably because the military has no information about Kara and no corresponding intelligence, Barry Allen frowned. In his memory, Superman had proactively contacted the military and boarded the ship with a reporter alongside General Zod. Humans are no match for them. Continuing like this will only lead to unnecessary deaths. Kara's eyes were filled with hatred for Zod. Originally, Krypton was a peaceful and hopeful planet, but now she wished she could immediately kill General Zod, the disgrace of Krypton. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go support them," young Barry Allen said, unable to sit still. Seeing that Barry Allen and the others were getting restless, Pietro quickly stopped them. "Don't act rashly. Alex and Bruce haven't come out yet. Without the equipment made from those stones, we won't be of any use. But who knows how long they'll take? What if General Zod activates the world engine?" Barry Allen's voice was filled with concern. "It's already done." Before the agitated Barry Allen could finish, a voice suddenly interrupted him. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice and saw Batman and Alex emerging from the laboratory. After long hours of experimentation, both looked a bit tired, but their spirits were high. As they approached, Alex already knew what they wanted to say. He raised his hand to signal for them to look at him and then spoke directly. "We are aware of the situation. Everyone, get ready. We will depart in 5 minutes. We have also prepared weapons against the Kryptonians. We'll discuss the detailed plan on the way. For now, put your gear on. Hearing this, everyone quickly got to work, putting on their suits. Barry Allen took out the suit stored in his ring, made of special fibers, which could be shrunk and stored in the ring. When needed, it could be taken out at any time. Although its appearance wasn't very appealing, at least according to Alex, the suit was somewhat hard to appreciate. Young Barry Allen had modified old Batman's suit, painting it red and adding a lightning bolt on the chest, likely trying to emulate the style of the older Barry Allen. Kara, as usual, wore her suit, while Pietro, during this period, had used various high-tech resources in the Batcave to create a blue suit inspired by the stories Alex told him about Quicksilver from other universes. Bruce Wayne handed out specially made bat masks to everyone and reminded them, the fear gas is very potent, so to avoid unnecessary trouble, it's best to wear these. No problem, everyone nodded in agreement, seeing Batman so serious. Batman and Alex had spent the whole night figuring out how to integrate the radiation-carrying stones into the fear toxin. Currently, the only thing that could threaten the Kryptonians was kryptonite. To make the fear gas effective, kryptonite had to be added. In the comics, many villains used similar methods to cause Superman a lot of trouble. The most well-known example was in the Injustice storyline, where Joker kidnapped Superman's wife, Lois, and used a similar kryptonite gas to cause Superman to hallucinate, leading him to mistake her for Doomsday and inadvertently kill both Lois and their unborn child. This showed that certain toxins could indeed be very effective, even against powerful Kryptonians, as long as kryptonite was integrated. Alex took this moment to pull young Barry Allen aside. Seeing the extremely nervous young Barry, Alex thought for a moment and then spoke. Barry, we will definitely win this time, so don't be nervous. I've got your back. Yeah, I'm just facing this kind of situation for the first time, young Barry Allen forced a smile, still a student. Relax. Do you see that clock? Alex patted young Barry's shoulder and pointed to a clock not far away. Yes, I see it. Remember this time. I want you to promise me that if we don't win or if you encounter any problems, you'll appear here exactly 5 seconds from now. After speaking, Alex stopped and held his breath, waiting quietly. Young Barry was puzzled but remained silent, looking around with Alex. After about 10 seconds, young Barry couldn't hold back any longer and whispered, Alex, what are we waiting for? Nothing, Alex gave young Barry a deep look and then smiled slightly. Just pretend I didn't say anything. Remember, your goal is to rescue those people while ensuring your safety as much as possible. Got it, young Barry Allen nodded firmly. Time passed, and after everyone was ready, they gathered together. Due to the Batplane's limited capacity, only Batman, Pietro, and Alex could board. Kara and the two Flashes didn't need it, one could fly and the other two could run incredibly fast. Seeing the group gathered, young Barry Allen, originally nervous, became excited. We could be considered the Justice League, right? No, Barry Allen instinctively replied. We're not. Barry Allen hesitated. Barely. We're missing a 100% goddess, a straightforward Terminator, and a super mermaid. But your Justice League doesn't have allies from other universes, Pietro raised an eyebrow, confident that he and his allies were just as strong. Pietro's joke lightened the tense atmosphere as they prepared for the upcoming battle. Alex also smiled and put on his bird-beak mask. It's time to go. Chapter 58. Kara's Wrath. It was a brutal massacre. From the very beginning of the battle, this war, where the combat power of both sides was entirely unmatched, fell into a one-sided situation. Facing generals its use of Kryptonian technology, the Earth's military's cannons and grenades were simply like primitive people's wooden sticks. They couldn't even harm the enemy. Under the Yellow Sun's enhancement, these bullets couldn't even catch up to the Kryptonians' speed. Most Kryptonians didn't even bother to dodge because these bullets and artillery were nothing more than tickles to them. Though the physical attributes of Kryptonians varied, some absorbed the sun's energy faster than others, while some did so more slowly. Most Kryptonians couldn't reach generals its level of enhancement. But even so, it was enough to deal with humans because Earth's weapons couldn't break through their defenses. The battlefield was filled with piercing sounds, a sharp whistling noise followed by thunderous explosions. These visually impressive displays had strong visual effects, but the soldiers knew they hadn't killed a single enemy so far. Krypton's counterattack was even fiercer. Spaceships hovered high above, their force fields descending slowly. Several long cannons emerged, firing laser weapons that didn't even require aiming as they could lock onto any enemy intelligently. With just one shot, most soldiers didn't even have time to react. Immediately, countless rocks and debris flew into the sky, mixed with various body parts and tank fragments. In the end, only a deep trench several meters long remained on the ground. Such powerful weapons silenced the human army. Though they continued their futile resistance, everyone knew one thing: the battle's outcome had been decided from the start. Amidst the countless explosions and bursts of fire, General Zed stepped out from a platform extended from the spaceship. He watched the massacre with a calm expression, as if the deaths of these people didn't stir his emotions at all. In fact, he was somewhat tired because killing these defenseless humans brought him no satisfaction. Instead, it made him feel like he was wasting his time. "Go, make it quick," General Zed commanded. His voice was somewhat hoarse, but it carried an undeniable menace. "Yes," responded a woman with short black hair beside him. She immediately leaped from the spaceship and joined the chaotic battlefield. This woman was Feyre, General Zed's lieutenant. She possessed extremely strong combat skills and was genetically engineered for war. She was General Zed's most trusted person and the second strongest among the Kryptonians present, just slightly slower than General Zed in absorbing the yellow sun's radiation. When she joined the battle, the human army's already struggling defense line was instantly breached. Watching Feyre, who was like a war goddess continuously reaping human lives, General Zed nodded slightly in approval. He then looked up, shifting his gaze from the battlefield to the sky above. There, a girl in a red and blue suit with a flowing red cape was hovering, glaring at him with intense anger. Even General Zed was somewhat surprised by the sheer hatred in her eyes. "Kara Zor-El, we've been waiting for you," General Zed said, his usually icy face showing a hint of change. Unlike Kara's eyes filled with killing intent, his eyes revealed a trace of joy. Seeing Kara ignoring him, General Zed didn't mind. He continued speaking to himself. This attack was just a test on Earth. The world engine still needs adjustments. I plan to launch the final battle tomorrow, to start transforming Earth. Only by destroying this world can our world be reborn. Kara clenched her teeth. Her voice trembled as she slowly spoke her first words. "My brother, where is he?" Hearing this question, General Zed finally understood the source of her hatred. "It seems you already know, so I won't hide it. Your uncle, Jor-El, hid a key that could bring Krypton back to life within a child. All Kryptonian genetic data and material were encoded into this child's DNA and sent to Earth in an escape pod. My brother, where is he?" After hearing from Alex about her brother, Kara held a glimmer of hope despite her hatred for General Zed. She didn't want to believe her brother was truly dead. But seeing General Zed's expression now, Kara's heart sank to the bottom. "We intercepted his pod, but he wasn't who we were looking for. You were the one, Kara Zor-El. I'm sorry, but that child didn't survive." Before General Zed could finish, he suddenly saw Kara's eyes emitting a faint red glow. Countless powerful energies rapidly gathered in her eyes, the destructive energy causing even General Zed to be wary. "Ah!" A piercing scream echoed across the battlefield. Resentment, hatred, unwillingness, all these negative emotions reached their peak. The next moment, they all erupted with the crimson laser beam. The powerful force blasted General Zed away. Following the laser beam's trajectory, General Zed was propelled at an incredible speed from the spaceship straight to the ground. The violent energy reaction instantly drew everyone's attention on the battlefield. General Zed lay in a massive crater, his armor partially falling off with residual red energy, surrounded by the marks left by the laser blast. "General!" Seeing this, Feyre immediately stopped attacking the defenseless humans and turned to rescue him. She had already identified their target, Kara, the carrier of the Codex. Though Feyre didn't think this young girl could harm General Zed, as his lieutenant, seeing her general attacked by an enemy was something she couldn't forgive. With this thought, she stomped on the ground, launching herself into the air. But just as she moved, 3 streaks of lightning directly intercepted her. Chapter 59. Striking back. Golden, silver white, and purple blue. 3 different colored streaks of lightning simultaneously tore through half the battlefield. The air was ripped apart, the intense impact distorted the surrounding airflow, and the 3 magnificent beams of light burst forth, instantly capturing everyone's attention. Among them was Feyre. Alarms rang in her mind. She could even detect the attack paths of the lightning, but suspended in mid-air, she was unable to evade effectively due to inertia. Moreover, She hadn't anticipated encountering someone capable of controlling lightning on this small planet. This sudden ambush visibly stunned her. Perhaps due to their time on Earth, the Kryptonians had developed a sense of superiority. While Earth had many interesting technologies, most were child's play to Kryptonians. The enhancement from the yellow sun only made General Zod and his followers' actions more brazen. But lightning was different. Any visible lightning wielded immense power, enough to pierce the air. While it might not be lethal to Kryptonians, it could cause them pain or paralyze them. The powerful energy attacks struck. In her haste, Feyre couldn't retaliate and could only instinctively cross her arms, attempting to block the lightning with her Kryptonian armor. Crack! Lightning burst forth with blinding brilliance, striking Feyre's arms. She felt a stinging and numbing sensation in her arms, and a strong light forced her to squint. Before losing most of her vision, Feyre vaguely saw the three assailants. They looked human. One of them, holding a staff, was a one-armed man, and one of the lightning bolts came from his staff. The other two were enveloped in electric charges, with lightning snakes writhing around them, converging in their hands before shooting out. The battlefield was ever-changing, and the soldiers finally understood the meaning of this phrase. They watched in astonishment as this sudden spectacle unfolded, attracting everyone's attention. No one knew who these individuals were or when they had appeared. But they understood that these superpowered individuals, since they attacked the Kryptonians, must be on humanity's side. The scene of Feyre being ambushed also caught General Zod's eye. He climbed out of the pit, looked at the enraged Kara, and shook his head slowly. "Is this your reinforcements? As a Kryptonian, you choose to side with humans, Kara. You have ultimately taken the wrong path. You don't deserve to mention Krypton," Kara said with hatred, seeing his gaze shift towards Feyre. Kara sneered. "And don't underestimate Earthlings." As if to prove Kara's words, a missile shot toward Feyre. It had a small grenade attached to the front, and though not fast, Kryptonians could dodge it easily. But under the suppression of 3 lightning bolts, Feyre found it difficult to move. Even if she wasn't paralyzed, Feyre wouldn't have bothered to dodge. She was only thinking about how to retaliate. These lightning bolts were powerful but couldn't cause her significant harm. Releasing such strong lightning required a lot of energy, and the opponents couldn't sustain it for long. Once their energy was depleted, it would be her turn to strike back. Holding on to this thought, Feyre was hit directly by the missile from behind. The grenade exploded upon contact with her steel-like body, with a flash of fire and green smoke. However, Feyre remained unconcerned, as did the approaching Kryptonian soldiers. For them, human weapons were all bark and no bite, producing nothing more than noise. Noticing the oddly colored fog, Feyre smirked mockingly. Poison gas, such naive creatures. Poison gas warfare was an outdated, low-level tactic long abandoned, especially by seasoned warriors like those following General Zod. This wasn't just because different planetary materials made poisons ineffective against various aliens. Many powerful beings had long since developed immunity to toxins, including Kryptonians. Moreover, General Zod and his men had done their homework before coming to Earth. They had already observed much of Earth's materials and technological levels. Earth's civilization was hardly a match for them. So, Feyre didn't care about the minor poison gas. But the next moment, her expression froze, and her slightly squinted eyes opened wide in disbelief. As the green mist was inhaled, a sense of weakness surged through her body. It was a strange feeling she had never experienced before. At first, Feyre thought she was imagining things, but soon she realized the pain in her arms was getting worse. It wasn't just numbness and soreness, there was a burning sensation as if enveloped by intense heat. Fortunately, the feeling quickly disappeared. Not because her strength returned, but because the 3 lightning-wielding individuals stopped due to energy depletion. Feyre barely stood, feeling incredibly weak. Her arms hung limp, unable to be raised. What did you do?" she asked through gritted teeth, looking at the 3 humans with varied expressions. She couldn't believe there was something on Earth capable of weakening Kryptonians. "Nothing much, just a little gift for you." A voice suddenly came from behind Feyre, making her eyes widen. Hearing the clear voice less than a meter away, her mouth went dry. Who? Someone had silently approached her from behind, so close, and she hadn't noticed. The next second, Feyre felt something push her, sending her flying into the air. Her vision shifted, revealing a bizarre figure, a man in a strange helmet and birdbeak mask, dressed in a black coat and wearing a top hat. The most striking feature was his black umbrella and the dark blade he drew from its handle. In front of this eerie figure stood a body, oddly familiar to Feyre. She had seen it somewhere before. And why didn't this body have a head? Chapter 60. Poison gas. How dare you! General Zed's roar echoed throughout the battlefield. This was the first time he had ever displayed such terrifying rage. Seeing Feyre's head severed by what he considered weak humans, an immense anger finally broke through General Zed's icy demeanor, making his entire face contort with fury. The last time he lost his composure like this was when he was captured after his rebellion on Krypton failed. Looking at the decaying Kryptonian society then, General Zed only wanted to execute all the leaders because they had led Krypton down a path of no return. But now, seeing his most trusted lieutenant dead, General Zed only wanted to massacre every human in sight. To General Zed, Feyre was an incredibly important figure. He had spent most of his life in battle, and very few could enter his heart. Perhaps it was because his genes lacked the concept of love, which kept General Zed in a state of strict discipline and iron-blooded public duty. But even the most emotionless beings have feelings, and Lieutenant Feyre was one of the few with whom Zed could truly connect. Yet, this lieutenant, who had survived countless battles with him, hadn't died from an interstellar fleet's artillery or in Krypton's revolution but had met her end on this small Earth. A strong hatred and rage filled Zed's heart, and a massive amount of red energy quickly gathered in his eyes. Sensing General Zed's intent, Kara didn't hesitate and burst from the sky, flying straight toward him. "Get out of my way!" Zed noticed Kara's sonic boom as she flew at high speed. He roared and punched in the direction of the sound. The power of a Kryptonian's outburst was unimaginable, especially when it was Zed's furious punch. With a dull thud, Kara's body veered sharply in mid-air, flying hundreds of meters away and crashing hard into the ground, her fate unknown. Ignoring his blood-related niece, General Zed roared, and destructive beams shot from his eyes, heading straight for the strangely dressed humans. Heat vision was a remarkable ability within Kryptonian genes because it had almost no upper limit. At full power, its destructive force was terrifying. No one knew the true extent of this ability because using it at full capacity could also put tremendous pressure on the Kryptonians' eyes. If used for too long or with too much energy, the Kryptonian themselves would suffer first, and their eyes could go blind from the inability to control the energy. At this moment, General Zed felt pain in his eyes, but he didn't care. He just wanted to kill every enemy in front of him. However, to his surprise, the opponents reacted quickly, even faster than he did. If the silver-haired man's speed was on par with his, the two other guys in red outfits wrapped in lightning completely surpassed him in speed. Before the heat vision could envelop them, the four figures swiftly moved away at incredible speed, even faster than the heat vision itself. Clenching his fists, Zed's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty intent. He chased after them with extreme speed, so fast that the ordinary soldiers around him couldn't react. In the next moment, a speed contest erupted. Driven by rage, General Zed had gone completely mad, crushing everything in his path, whether it was tanks or humans, into pieces. His destructive power brought a chilling sense of oppression to everyone. The speedsters dared not stop even for a moment. The Flash's speed was indeed fast, but if Zed caught up, a single punch would be enough to shatter any of them. Despite his rage, General Zed still had a plan. He wasn't blindly chasing them but was instead herding them toward his Kryptonian army. Using this encirclement, even if the Flash was faster than the Kryptonians, there were several close calls where he nearly tripped or was intercepted. In less than 10 seconds, they had multiple brushes with death. The human army wanted to help, but the battle was beyond their reach. They couldn't even see the enemies, let alone assist the Flash and others. At that moment, a breaking sound came from the sky. A bat-shaped aircraft, trailing long contrails, emerged from the clouds. Since the battle had moved to the ground, the arrival of the Batwing went unnoticed by most. Even those who saw it had no time to spare. What happened next, however, surprised everyone. The Batwing suddenly fired 2 missiles from its underside, targeting the majority of the Kryptonians. These missiles were far more powerful than the earlier grenades, creating massive explosions within the Kryptonian formation. But the explosions themselves weren't the main threat. Following the blasts, thick green smoke billowed out. The dense smoke, like waves, surged continuously. By the time the Kryptonian soldiers realized, it was too late. The gas clung to them like leeches, spreading instantly upon contact. Distracted by the Flash and others, the Kryptonians didn't notice the gas until it was too late to escape. Moreover, the Batwing, fearing the gas wasn't potent enough, released even more from above. The enormous green clouds enveloped the sky and slowly descended. The Kryptonian soldiers who flew into the air to avoid the gas were immediately affected. Clutching their throats, they felt a growing weakness, eventually losing control of their bodies and falling. General! Ah! Without their invulnerable bodies, the Kryptonians became lambs to the slaughter. Their equipment offered some protection, but it couldn't withstand the increasingly fierce human firepower. The drastic change from invincibility to vulnerability left them unable to resist. Soon, casualties appeared among the Kryptonian soldiers. Seeing this, General Zod stopped pursuing the speedsters. Watching his soldiers poisoned and slaughtered by the humans, he was furious, veins bulging on his forehead. How dare you! How dare you! Chapter 61. Illusion and Reality. The roar from his mouth didn't affect General Zod's actions at all. He instantly dashed to a human soldier who was pouring fire on the Kryptonians and with just one punch, shattered his head into pieces. I will make you pay. General Zod stood like a war god before the humans who were gradually forming a siege around him. Behind him, numerous Kryptonians, weak and in pain, were struggling desperately. Surrender, Zod. You might have the body and abilities of a god, but you underestimate human determination. To protect our planet, we can eliminate any bastard who dares covet it, even you. Looking at the few people appearing at the forefront of the human soldiers, General Zod immediately recognized their identities. These were the three speedsters and the coward who killed Feyre, the one who didn't even dare show his face behind a birdbeak mask. These people were none other than Alex, Pietro, and the Allen twins, standing in front of the human army, their eyes filled with hostility towards General Zod. But from their eyes, General Zod could also see a trace of barely noticeable fear. Everything I do is for the revival of Krypton. No matter the cost, do you think you can stop me? Clenching his fists and feeling his unparalleled power, General Zod just wanted to crush these ants. Krypton is destroyed, and you are just a rebel, Zod. You don't deserve to mention Krypton's name, nor do you deserve to be a Kryptonian. Surrender. Kara floated in the air, looking at General Zod as if she were looking at a dead man. I will kill you and avenge my brother. With just you. General Zod sneered, now appearing calm, no longer losing his temper as before. But those who knew General Zod understood that the calmer he appeared, the stronger his inner rage. If Feyre were still here, she would easily notice that General Zod had entered the state of a true warrior, just like when he led the Kryptonian fleet to conquer other planets. But General Zod knew what he was about to do next was not revenge or conquest, it was merely a bloodthirsty massacre. Quick, if he comes into contact with the gas, it will weaken his powers. Barry Allen noticed General Zod's nearly tangible killing intent and couldn't help but shout loudly. But Alex was already prepared. The head of his black umbrella exploded, firing a grenade directly at General Zod's position. However, the grenade's speed couldn't match General Zod's. If he were suppressed like Feyre, it might have worked, but he knew the humans' trump cards and wouldn't let them succeed. He leaped hundreds of meters in an instant, leaving the blast range before the grenade even exploded. His speed was invisible even to Alex. Stopping steadily, leaving marks on the hard ground, he turned to see the position of the Kryptonian soldiers now covered in deep green gas, like a green ocean. The Kryptonian soldiers within were convulsing and writhing on the ground, screaming in agony, enduring immense pain. Without hesitation, General Zod spread his arms, palms open, posing like a crucifix. No, stop him. Seeing this, Alex immediately understood his intention. Before Alex's words fell, the others rushed towards General Zod. Though they didn't know his plan, they knew they couldn't let him succeed. Too late. General Zod's expression twisted, clapping his hands with all his strength. The speed was so great it caused a small sonic boom, and as his palms merged, the world seemed to freeze. Everyone's expressions were filled with shock and terror. The next moment, a massive force exploded. Whoosh! A visible shockwave burst out, enveloping the surroundings with terrifying repulsion, deafening everyone. Some were even made deaf instantly, the force unstoppable. Within a 1,000-meter radius around General Zod, everything was swept away, including tanks and armored vehicles, like paper in a storm. The sky was also affected, tearing apart the green gas, which vanished in an instant. Pietro, Kara, and Barry Allen suffered the worst damage, their suits torn by the force, flying like broken kites. Among them, Only Barry Allen survived the initial attack, with his cells vibrating at high speed, allowing him to dodge. But General Zod wasn't about to let him go. Before Barry could react, General Zod plunged his hand into Barry's heart, causing it to tremble violently. Kryptonians couldn't vibrate their cells to phase through matter like the Flash. They lacked the speed force and the Flash's speed. But General Zod didn't need to match the Flash's speed, he only needed to disrupt the cell movement. When the Flash realized General Zod's intention, it was too late. His body halted for a moment, like a musical beat abruptly stopped. The Flash grunted, his body stopping. "Got you, filthy insect." General Zod smiled coldly, feeling the heartbeat in his hand, his smile becoming more menacing. With a yank, he ripped out Barry Allen's heart, leaving him gutted on the ground, blood spraying onto General Zod's face, which he didn't mind, relishing the slaughter. Suddenly, a sense of being targeted arose in him. Reacting instantly, his eyes turned red, and he shot heat vision towards the source. A massive explosion sounded from the sky, unheard by the deafened ground troops. The heat vision shattered a missile and the batwing behind it. Retracting his heat vision, General Zod surveyed the devastated battlefield, like an emperor. Pietro and Barry Allen's bodies were in pieces, unable to withstand such destruction. The humans were nearly wiped out, only distant soldiers surviving, terrified. General Zod's gaze searched until it locked onto a black umbrella on the ground, its owner likely buried in the ruins. Zod. As General Zod reveled in the post-battle silence, a roar came from above. Prepared, General Zod was waiting for the final prey. With a casual dodge, he avoided Kara's attack, then slammed her to the ground. Not satisfied, he kicked her abdomen, sinking the ground half a meter, making her spit blood. "I will rebuild Krypton on this planet's ruins," he whispered with undeniable resolve. As he finished, a blade extended from his arm. "No, don't. Stop." Kara raised her hands weakly, pain preventing her from resisting. "Please, stop." Seeing Kara's agony, General Zod remained calm, believing his actions were for Krypton's revival, his life's purpose. Stab. The blade pierced Kara's chest without resistance. This final blow stopped Kara's resistance, blood gushing from her mouth. "Why?" General Zod frowned, leaning in to hear her. "Why kill us? We are your subordinates." General Zod's mind stopped working. Chapter 62. The Fall of Zod. General Zod's eyes gradually lost their madness and turned somewhat dazed. Suddenly, a green flame ignited on Kara's body. It was a deep, eerie color, more like a green firefly. It wasn't just on Kara, across the entire battlefield, wherever General Zod's gaze fell, green flames flickered to life one by one, continuously emerging and spreading. In Zod's disbelieving eyes, the entire world began to change. The chaotic battlefield twisted and spun as if the reflection in water had been disturbed by the wind. Amidst the shimmering light, the world's illusion started to move. Disjointed lights and shadows came from all directions, not only disrupting Zod's vision but also making it hard for his brain to distinguish between reality and illusion. Looking down, General Zod was horrified to find that Kara had somehow turned into Feyre, and in her dead, unseeing eyes, he could still see the confusion and pain she felt before dying. In the desolate sky, green mist slowly descended, carrying unidentified debris, like an eerie snowfall. General Zod sat motionless on the ground, holding Feyre's body. It all felt like a dream, or a fragmented reality. Amidst the scattering dust, green flames rose, and a black figure emerged from the blur. He walked out from the man-high flames, the tip of a black umbrella touching the ground first. "Tisk, tisk, tisk." The black-clad figure spoke. "You didn't really think we had the ability to spread the poison gas across the entire battlefield, did you?" General Zod had no idea what was happening or dared to think about what he had just experienced. He just lowered his head, looking at Feyre's lifeless body. "We needed a lot of time to develop the poison gas, which couldn't be achieved with the help of a speedster. So, how could we produce such a large amount of poison in one night, let alone several large missiles? But we didn't need to. It was enough to poison you. You shouldn't be surprised because this was specially prepared for you. Kryptonians are indeed strong, but fortunately, I have something to weaken your resistance to the poison gas. Although you have strong resistance and adaptability to poison, there is always a first time. This must be the first time you've felt like this, right? Originally, it was called Fear Toxin, but now I've decided to rename it Mad Apostle." The figure in the bird beak mask gracefully walked up to General Zod. The glass surface reflected its miserable state, and the mask seemed mocking. After a pause, Alex continued. I'm really surprised at how terrifying your full power is, to the point where the entire Kryptonian army isn't your match. General Zed's vision gradually cleared. In front of him, all the humans had disappeared, leaving countless dead Kryptonian soldiers scattered around, one even having his heart removed. I haven't decided on a codename yet, but my bat friend gave me a nice name, Wraith Raven. Alex gripped the umbrella handle and slowly drew out a black dagger inlaid with green gems, creating an eerie beauty. Of course, you can also call me the Deathbringer. With that, Alex swung the dagger fiercely at General Zed's head. Sensing the incoming attack, General Zed's ears twitched. He reacted instantly, leaping up, but to everyone's shock, he didn't go after Alex or even glance at the incoming black dagger. Instead, he turned and grabbed at the air. Swoosh! In an instant, a tangible sensation met General Zed's hand. At the same time, a shattering sound echoed through the air. He gripped his hand tightly, feeling the solid object in his grasp. Though he couldn't see it, he knew he had indeed blocked the attack. As Zed had guessed, the black dagger aiming for his head passed through his body, while the masked figure holding the dagger froze mid-swing. In Zed's hand, a black dagger appeared amidst the distorted light and shadow. The blade, hilt, and the hand holding it gradually became visible. Only then did General Zed focus on the figure before him, but to his surprise, his X-ray vision couldn't penetrate the bird-beak mask. Impressive, General Zed. A slightly hoarse voice came from under the mask, sounding a bit frustrated. But General Zed didn't care. He tightened his grip on the dagger, feeling the opponent's weak strength, and his inner rage erupted. If anything could anger him more than seeing his deputy Feyre decapitated, it was being told that everything was an illusion and that he had personally killed his deputy in his quest for vengeance. Zed dared not recall the earlier scene, nor imagine how Feyre and the other Kryptonians reacted to his rampage. It's unimaginable that as a seasoned warrior, he now feared a memory. But now, Zed had to suppress those thoughts, knowing what he must do. As he said, everything was for Krypton's revival, no matter the sacrifice. Now that he could distinguish reality, it was time for the instigator to pay the price. With that thought, Zed's killing intent could no longer be contained. I've caught you. Facing Zed's threat and terrifying killing intent, Alex showed no panic. From under the mask came a mocking voice. No, I've caught you. Chapter 63. Struggle of a Wounded Beast. No, I have caught you, said Alex. Before he finished speaking, a purple light exploded under their feet, forming a rectangular plane. It appeared without any warning or preparation, catching everyone by surprise. General Zed had no time to react. In the next moment, a strong sense of weightlessness and falling hit him. He loosened his grip, and his entire body disappeared into the purple light. In another world, high above a planet, a purple plane tore open, and two figures plummeted from it. Stunned by everything, General Zed felt as if he was still in an illusion. He couldn't understand why, with just a blink of an eye, he was suddenly in mid-air. But the rushing wind constantly reminded General Zed that he had to act. Instinctively, General Zed tried to activate his biofield, a powerful ability he gained after arriving on Earth. The biofield could slow down all energy attacks and even allowed him to fly in the sky. But to his horror, the biofield failed. No matter how much he called for it, it felt like throwing a stone into a deep abyss, with no ripples or response, as if he never had the biofield in the first place. Unlike Kara, General Zed, as a renowned Kryptonian general, was more familiar with Krypton's secrets, including how the Yellow Sun strengthened their physique and the stories of Krypton's gods. These powerful abilities were exclusively for Kryptonians, embedded in their genes, and couldn't be altered. But now, these abilities were erased, not taken or restricted, but directly erased as if they had never existed. This gave General Zed a feeling of numbness. He even wondered if he was still under the influence of the hallucinogenic gas because he couldn't believe what was happening to him. But reality didn't give him much time to think. Boom! With a loud crash, General Zed's body hit the ground hard, creating a deep pit several meters wide on the rocky desert surface. Meanwhile, on the other side of the sky, a figure holding a black umbrella slowly descended with the help of a propeller, finally landing gently beside the pit, exuding elegance. To break free from the illusion of the fear toxin and even find my true location, Kryptonians are indeed terrifying creatures. Alex closed his umbrella and murmured, looking in the direction of the pit. The fear toxin's illusion, enhanced by Batman, became controllable and powerful, but there were still some connections between illusion and reality. When General Zod was affected by the illusion, Alex immediately left the battlefield because a frenzied General Zod was extremely dangerous. He would attack everyone around him under the illusion's influence, not distinguishing between friend and foe, and striking with extreme force. In this state, General Zod was nearly unstoppable. Not only Supergirl Kara but even the Kryptonians trying to stop him couldn't withstand Zod's furious punches. However, this gave Alex and his team a great opportunity to retreat. According to the plan, both Barry Allen and Pietro immediately moved all human soldiers off the battlefield. This was no longer a battle they could participate in, staying meant certain death. At first, everyone worried they might be attacked by the Kryptonians while retreating, but luckily, General Zod had attracted most of the Kryptonians' attention. Even Feyre had no time to stop the retreating humans. The final result was perfect, at least for the humans. The frenzied General Zod killed all the Kryptonian soldiers, and even Feyre couldn't stop his massacre, ultimately becoming one of his victims. In the end, as the fear toxin's effect gradually weakened, Alex had to take great risks to re-enter the battlefield because the portal could only be opened near Alex. To take General Zod away, Alex had to get close to him. Thus, in the illusion, those phantoms continuously taunted General Zod, drawing his attention and attacking his psyche to destroy his mind. But in reality, Alex ran all the way, spending a long time to reach General Zod's back from outside the battlefield. Although General Zod, under the illusion's influence, could still use his warrior's vigilance to block Alex's sneak attack, fortunately, Alex's plan succeeded. When General Zod touched Alex, Miss Time immediately opened a portal to the tomb of Zod. Seeing General Zod gradually climbing out of the pit, a smile appeared on Alex's face under his mask. From now on, General Zod was completely trapped, with no chance of turning the tables. As Alex expected, General Zod looked extremely miserable. His body was covered with wounds, and even his armor was tattered. No one would believe that this was the fearsome Kryptonian general. Under the influence of the Red Sun, General Zod's body became very weak. Falling from such a high place without any buffer caused significant damage to his body. Covered in blood, General Zod crawling out of the pit looked like a demon from hell, instilling genuine fear. "What have you done?" General Zod gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with hatred, wishing to tear Alex apart. Even Alex felt uncomfortable being stared at like this. A cornered beast, General Zod was far less powerful than before, but the more this was the case, the more dangerous he felt. "You saw it, didn't you? This is the grave I chose for you, a planet illuminated by a sun similar to Krypton's. Do you like it?" Alex looked down at General Zod, speaking calmly. "Impossible. This can't be. It's real. The fear toxin's effect has long faded, and falling from such a height should help you distinguish reality." General Zod didn't respond quickly. He stared at Alex, feeling immense unwillingness inside. No proof was needed because his surroundings and current state perfectly confirmed his situation. He was indeed transported to an alien planet, one that Krypton hadn't observed. Clenching his fists, General Zod slowly stood up. "If this is reality, then I just need to kill you, and I can return to Earth to restart my plan." "The Genesis engine? Sorry, but while you were slaughtering Kryptonian soldiers, I had Kara destroy it." As he spoke, Alex raised his hand to look at his watch. By now, it should be space debris. Hearing this, General Zod's mind went blank. Then, an uncontrollable rage erupted. "I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" General Zod, like a wounded beast, wanted nothing more than to kill the ant that destroyed everything he had. Although he no longer had the power to destroy the world. Although he no longer had the powerful biofield. Although he no longer had an invincible steel body. But as a warrior, he believed he could still tear the ant in front of him to pieces without those things. Don't get me wrong. Seeing the murderous intent in General Zod's eyes, Alex chuckled and waved his hand. You Kryptonians are indeed impressive fighters, especially you, who live for battle. I'm just an ordinary person without your powerful abilities and combat experience, so your opponent is not me. A cold light flashed across Alex's birdbeak mask glasses. He tilted his head towards General Zod's back, smirking. It's him. General Zod hesitated, then paused and turned his head towards the direction Alex was looking. On a giant rock about 5 or 6 meters high, a black figure stood against the wind. No one knew how long he had been standing there, blending with the environment. The black cape fluttered in the wind like a grim reaper. Just looking at him instilled a deep sense of fear. The shadow atop the rock emitted a subtle yet deadly killing intent, like a bloodthirsty bat. Chapter 64. General Zed's Finale. Batman made the first move. The moment General Zed's gaze locked onto him, Batman had already started to act. At this moment, Batman was not a fledgling newcomer, nor was he the rookie who used a grappling gun to leap across rooftops and could still fall. He was the urban legend who had put an end to all the evil in Gotham City, a demon feared by all wrongdoers. Having experienced countless battles, he could fully utilize all his advantages and was confident he could defeat any enemy when prepared. On one side, there was the Bat Vigilante from Gotham City, a being at the pinnacle of human potential. Though aged, he still struck fear into the hearts of his enemies. On the other side, there was the great general from Krypton, born for war and conflict. He had helped Krypton conquer one planet after another and annihilated any who dared invade Krypton. This battle between two cosmic civilizations finally commenced under Alex's watchful eyes. A batarang suddenly flew out, slicing through the air, heading straight for General Zed's head. Seeing this, General Zed immediately retreated. He wasn't sure if his body could withstand these attacks, but from the sense of danger emanating from the batarang, he knew this human had the ability to hurt him. However, General Zed didn't care much. Perhaps after his enhancement under the yellow sun, he had underestimated Earth's civilization, feeling that nothing could harm him. Yet, the years of combat experience hadn't let him forget how to fight without a steel body. The batarang was fast, but General Zed managed to dodge it. In the next moment, a grappling hook appeared out of nowhere, hitting the unprepared General Zed. Fortunately, he quickly raised his arm to block the attack, otherwise, the hook would have gone for his face. The grappling hook dug into the damaged armor on General Zed's arm, its powerful grip causing him to stagger slightly, along with a slight pain from his arm. Evidently, the hook had pierced General Zed's skin. But General Zed didn't let this minor pain faze him. He grabbed the rope connected to the grappling hook and yanked it with all his might, pulling Batman toward him. Even though he had lost most of his strength, General Zed could feel that his current power, however weakened, was still far beyond that of any Earthling. If his opponent kept attacking from a distance, he would surely die. But if it came to close combat, General Zed was confident he wouldn't lose to anyone, a confidence rooted in his warrior genes. To his surprise, his opponent seemed to think the same. Facing General Zed's immense strength, Batman showed no fear, instead rushing toward him, abandoning long-range attacks in favor of close combat. It was as if Batman wanted to defeat him in his own specialty. To kill a man, you must also break his spirit. Alex licked his dry lips. He was surprised by old Bruce Wayne's approach. Even at 60, he wouldn't admit to aging. To General Zed, such a tactic was an insult. With a frown, his eyes glinted with killing intent. Gathering his strength into his fist, General Zed threw a powerful punch at Batman. Batman, rushing toward him, coldly smiled. His black cape spread open like bat wings, halting his body in mid-air. Like a high-speed train suddenly stopping, Batman came to a halt right before General Zed's fist, the punch missing its mark by mere inches, only the force of the blow brushing past Batman's face. Batman wouldn't let such an opportunity slip. Twisting his body in mid-air, he delivered a powerful kick to General Zed's face. The missed punch had already unsettled General Zed. Attempting to defend against the attack, he found he couldn't react in time. Batman's kick landed squarely on his face, causing General Zed to stagger backward. But Batman didn't let up. He looped the grappling hook's rope around himself, using his weight to pull General Zed back. Instantly, the retreating General Zed was yanked forward. Batman released the rope, donning knuckle dusters made of red sun radiation material, and unleashed a barrage of punches. Feeling the pain from the punches, General Zed tried to counterattack, but Batman's speed was terrifyingly fast. No, it wasn't just speed, it was experience. Dodging General Zed's blows with minimal movement, Batman avoided each punch by the slimmest margins, narrowly escaping every time. Despite the risk, he never got hit once. The minimal movements also allowed Batman to strike back quicker. His fists, a blur of motion, relentlessly hit General Zed's joints and the damaged parts of his armor. As the only spectator, Alex watched the incredible battle, feeling only two words: smooth and flawless. Batman, despite his age, fought like a young man in his prime, with terrifying combat experience. From the start, General Zed had been caught in Batman's rhythm. The relentless attacks steadily dismantled General Zed's defenses, while its counterattacks proved useless against Batman's dance-like footwork. "This is impossible!" General Zod roared, enduring the pain from Batman's punches. Seizing a rare opportunity, he grabbed Batman's fist. Blood spits out of General Zod's mouth. Still, he gripped Batman's fist tightly, his face twisted in rage. "You are just an ant. How can you hurt me?" Batman's response was another powerful punch. And a cold whisper. "Because I am Batman." Chapter 65. Can you take me with you? The knuckle spikes directly hit General Zod's forehead. The immense power and special material effortlessly pierced through his skull. Whoosh! At that moment, a chilling wind swept in, causing Batman's cape to flutter loudly and blowing the oppressive atmosphere of the scene far away. General Zod's bloodshot eyes stared menacingly, making his ferocious face even more terrifying. A gaping wound on his head showed that the tremendous force had cracked his skull. It was unimaginable that a mere human could achieve such a feat. Seeing General Zod die with an unwilling expression, the old Batman slowly stood upright. "He shouldn't be getting up again, right?" Bruce Wayne's voice was hoarse. "He shows no signs of life." "Don't worry, he won't be getting up again," Alex replied lightly as he walked over to the old Batman. It's no wonder that old Bruce Wayne asked such a question. During his time in Gotham, Batman had encountered numerous powerful villains who came back from the dead. So, facing such a devastating alien, Batman still maintained his caution. If this General Zod had the ability to resurrect, or if someone took an interest in his corpse, it would be a grave concern for Earth's future. "I know what you're thinking. Don't worry, he's dead. And on this planet, his body will decay just like any other person's," Alex explained. "Can you guarantee that the life on this planet won't be affected by his corpse?" Batman looked up, observing the spectacular celestial phenomena that could never be seen on Earth, and asked calmly. "Rest assured, the civilization on this planet hasn't even reached the stage of making fire. By the time the natives gain intelligence, General Zod's body will have long turned into a fossil, and his armor would have been decomposed by nature." Alex shrugged and continued, "I told you, this place was chosen as his burial ground for a reason. I considered all the effects. What you should be worried about now is the military. After all, an alien invasion and a battle with Earth's superhumans are not things that can be easily hidden. Once it's exposed, you can kiss your peaceful retirement goodbye." Hearing this, the old Batman turned around and gazed deeply at Alex. "That doesn't matter. I don't want to know how you managed to cross universes to get to another planet in an instant, nor do I want to know how you found this planet in such a short time. I just think that compared to Zod, you are more dangerous." "Maybe," Alex laughed lightly, inwardly sighing in resignation. Indeed, he might not possess immense combat power right now, but the ability to freely travel across multiverses was enough to make many people wary of him. Moreover, the time pad could scan a universe and travel to any point in its timeline. No one understood better than Alex how terrifying this ability was. With great power comes great responsibility. If only caution was raised, it would be tolerable. But if those ambitious villains learned about the time pad in Alex's possession, it would pose unpredictable dangers to the entire multiverse. "Don't worry, I'll rest for a bit and leave this universe tomorrow." "Alex, I didn't mean to rush you out." Old Bruce Wayne hesitated for a moment and then spoke slowly. "I understand. But that was my plan all along. Now that the General Zod situation is resolved, there's no need for me to stay here. Besides, this universe just escaped the shackles of destruction. If we, the non-natives, continue to linger, who knows what might happen?" Understanding that Alex was giving him an out, Batman didn't press the matter. After all, old Bruce Wayne's thoughts were indeed that he hoped Alex and Barry Allen would leave this universe soon. He just couldn't say it outright. After all, they were comrades who fought together, and Alex and Pietro came to help. Evicting them right after the war would be like burning bridges. The old Batman couldn't bring himself to do such a thing. Since Alex chose to leave on his own, the old Batman felt somewhat relieved. "Are you sure you don't want my batsuit? I can tailor one to your physical specifications." Hearing this, Alex couldn't help but smile behind his mask. Old Bruce Wayne felt guilty, didn't he? This was a rare occurrence. "No need. I think this trench coat is just fine. Besides, I'm not a superhero. For someone as carefree as I am, the more ordinary, the better. The less attention, the better." The old Batman withdrew his gaze, paused for a moment, and nodded slightly. True. When everyone returned to the Batcave, it was already deep into the night. Pietro and Barry Allen were laughing and joking around. After solving such a big problem, everyone's nerves relaxed. Barry Allen realized his mistake through this incident. He decided to go back and restore history without altering anything or alerting anyone. They say a broken mirror cannot be mended, but Barry Allen was determined to do his best to fix it and let the timeline progress as it originally should. Alex supported this decision because, in the ending of the Flash movie in his previous life, Barry Allen changed the timeline again after destroying this universe. This time, he didn't save his mother but found evidence to exonerate his father. It was very frustrating. It seemed like the Flash in that movie didn't learn anything from his experiences. As for Supergirl Kara, Alex took her to see General Zod's corpse. At sunset, Kara calmly looked at General Zod's grave. Her eyes no longer held any negativity but rather an unusual calmness, as if she was experiencing the emptiness after revenge. Are you upset that you didn't get to kill him yourself to avenge your brother? Alex stood beside Kara, holding a large black umbrella to shield her from the red sun's rays. Kara gently shook her head. No. If it weren't for you, I might never have avenged him in my lifetime. General Zod was born to fight, it was written in his Krypton's genes, and I'm just a scientist. Even if we were in the same condition, I wouldn't be his match. Alex smiled but didn't respond. In truth, after injecting the Codex of Krypton, Kara's genetic makeup had undergone a tremendous transformation. She just needed time to grow, like Superman. I heard you're leaving tomorrow. Suddenly, Kara broke the silence. Ah, yes. Upon hearing Alex's response, Kara turned to face him and asked. Can you take me with you? Chapter 66. Celebration and Farewell. Take you with me. Alex was momentarily stunned. Yes, I want to leave here with you. Honestly, I can't find any meaning in staying here anymore. Previously, I only thought about avenging my brother. But now, I realize that I don't fit in here. I feel like I'm about to go insane. So you want to leave this universe and see your brother alive in another universe, right? Alex said calmly. Yes, Kara answered frankly, not hiding her motives. I was in that prison for a long time. Back then, what kept me going was my brother. Now, I also want to see if my brother's life is as good as Barry Allen said. Looking at Kara, Alex fell silent. Indeed, the catastrophe brought by General Zod was over, but the subsequent events still had a significant impact, especially concerning Supergirl Kara. When she was imprisoned, she was only 15 years old, subjected to daily experiments in a dark, sunless prison. Such a life of living death is something ordinary people can't comprehend. In such circumstances, how could Kara become the guardian of Earth like her brother? Earth may have various countries, but in Kara's eyes, humans are humans, regardless of nationality. Thinking about it this way, it was already kidness of Kara not to have destroyed Earth along with General Zod. Traveling between universes is not as simple as you think, Alex finally spoke after a long pause. Especially for a Kryptonian like you. I can't guarantee that the radiation from the sun in every universe will be the same, so each journey is very dangerous. I'm not afraid, as long as I can see my brother, Kara said firmly. But I also can't be sure which universe we'll end up in, Alex sighed. The time pad had transcended the sacred timeline, making each journey an unknown adventure. Before him lay countless multiverse blind boxes. It doesn't matter. Wherever we end up, I'll eventually see my brother, won't I? Kara said with a slight smile. Besides, that speedster alone doesn't have enough strength to protect you, does he? Seeing Kara's smiling gaze, Alex shook his head helplessly. Is your Kryptonian gene module really for scientists? I feel like you're more like a diplomat. So, does this mean I've convinced you? Kara pondered. I suppose so. The sun gradually dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desert. At Wayne Manor, a long table was set with a variety of exquisite foods. Additionally, old Bruce Wayne had even brought out his cherished vintage wines from the cellar. At the ends of the long table sat Bruce Wayne and Alex, facing each other, indicating their highest status among the attendees. Barry Allen, Pietro, and Kara sat on either side. The others were relatively relaxed, having been through similar occasions before, but it was Pietro and Kara's first formal banquet. The most nervous was undoubtedly Pietro. Born into a poor family and having suffered greatly after awakening his mutant gene imprisoned, fighting dogs for food. He would have likely died in a garbage heap if not for Alex. Sitting at such an exquisite dining table, Pietro tried hard to suppress his anxiety, carefully observing everyone's behavior to avoid making a fool of himself. He wasn't afraid of embarrassing himself, but he feared embarrassing Alex. As for Kara, she appeared very dignified, like a lady, maintaining her Kryptonian upbringing despite her inner turmoil, which Alex could sense. Kara wanted to blend into the table's atmosphere but felt constrained, only pretending to enjoy the roasted meat in front of her, making her seem out of place. Seeing this, Alex couldn't help but smile. Though they possessed immense combat power, they were both troubled youths. Whether Pietro or Kara, they harbored various dark aspects within themselves, inaccessible to outsiders but only known to them. Alex wanted to help them shed these inner negativities, but he knew it couldn't be rushed. Time would erode everything, and they could only come out of it on their own. As the eldest and most experienced, old Bruce Wayne naturally sensed Alex's thoughts. Raising his glass, he decided to liven up the celebration. After several rounds of toasts, the atmosphere at the table gradually warmed up, and everyone began to chat more freely. Tonight's gathering was not only a celebration but also a farewell for Alex and his companions. After discussion, Barry Allen decided to leave this universe along with Alex, who chose to take Kara, the homeless Kryptonian. The main reason for taking Kara was her combat power. Supergirl's strength was almost equal to Superman's. The destructive power of Kryptonians had been well demonstrated by General Zod. Without kryptonite, Kryptonians were nearly invincible. What Alex needed most now was combat power. Though Pietro, as a speedster, was formidable, he was helpless against truly powerful enemies, useful only for escaping. Zod's invasion had a significant impact. The corpses of those Kryptonian soldiers, the remains of the alien ships, and the debris from the world engine, if these fall into the military's hands, who knows what they might do, Alex said to Bruce Wayne. I understand. I'll keep an eye on the military. If anything goes wrong, we still have this young man, old Bruce Wayne said, looking at young Barry Allen with a smile. Barry, in the middle of eating, stopped and gave Bruce Wayne a puzzled look. Seeing Barry's unreliable demeanor, Alex almost laughed but quickly composed himself. Barry Allen is a meta-human. You want him to follow your path? That's too difficult. So, what do you suggest? The old Batman asked curiously. You spread fear in Gotham, punishing evil, making criminals fear you, turning into an urban legend. But Barry Allen is different. He has unparalleled powers and can bring hope to humanity. He doesn't need to hide in the shadows but can appear openly in the light. Old Batman put down his glass, interlacing his fingers as if deep in thought. After a moment, he nodded slightly, agreeing. Indeed, after this war, superheroes are exposed to the whole world. We do need someone who can bring hope. Originally, this role of bringing hope should have been for Superman or Supergirl, but now, it was placed on young Barry Allen. And you, Bruce, I think you could take on Alfred's role, nurturing a few successors. Alex smiled slightly, lowering his voice. By the way, in other universes, almost every Batman has a few assistants called Robins. Chapter 67. Departure in a New World. The next day, Alex had a rare chance to sleep in. This was the most comfortable sleep he had had in a long time. There was no suffocating pressure, no troubles threatening his safety at every moment, just a sense of fullness and the comfort of a soft mattress, something Alex had always longed for. When he groggily climbed out of bed, he realized it was already noon. He hurriedly got dressed and walked outside. Entering the living room of Wayne Manor, Alex was surprised to find that everyone else was already up. Pietro and young Barry Allen were engrossed in a mobile game, while Kara was helping old Bruce Wayne cook. Well, it wasn't really accurate to say she was helping. Bruce was doing most of the work, and Kara was just assisting. Why didn't anyone wake me up? Alex rubbed his eyes and wobbled over to the group, feeling a bit dizzy from sleeping too long. Alex, you're awake. We figured you were really tired, so we thought we'd let you sleep in a bit. Besides, we're not in a hurry, Pietro greeted with a raised hand. But letting me sleep until noon? This Gotham weather is really weird, always overcast and rainy, making it hard to get up. Alex grabbed a teacup from the table and took a sip. Everyone knows rainy days are great for sleeping in. Gotham's weather is a blessing for insomniacs. It was noon, yet it was still dim outside. They had to turn on lights inside the manor to make it bright enough. You drank a lot last night. I warned you that the wine had a strong after effect, old Bruce Wayne said, bringing a bowl of noodles to the table and pouring the prepared sauce over it. But you got up just in time. I was about to send Kara to wake you. The aroma of the noodles made Alex's stomach growl. After sleeping so long, he was famished. As he brought his bowl to the table, Alex noticed someone was missing. Where's Barry Allen? Did he oversleep too? I don't see him around. He left early this morning, Bruce replied, sitting down at the table and speaking slowly. That kid has things on his mind. While we've settled our matters here, he still has unresolved troubles. When did he leave? Around 6. You were all still asleep. He said goodbye to me and left, not wanting to disturb you. I think he felt guilty for causing so much trouble. Okay, Alex nodded, not saying much more. He had considered using Barry Allen to locate the DC film universe, but then he gave up on the idea. After all, before he traveled, the DC film universe was a mess. Even after a reboot, there was only a new Blue Beetle movie. Going there without a thorough understanding of the plot and events could easily put him in dangerous situations. After finishing their meal, Alex and the others prepared to leave. Pietro and Kara put on regular clothes over their battle suits to avoid drawing attention if they ended up in a crowded place. Their suits were hidden underneath, just in case. Alex, on the other hand, didn't change much. His trench coat was ordinary enough, with only the bird beak mask standing out. Fortunately, the time pad had a special dimension for storing items, so Alex placed most of his gear there. Alex had no idea how big the storage dimension was, but according to Miss Time, it was a special dimension not part of any multiverse or timeline. It had no rules or life, only endless void, a bottomless pit. Since it couldn't store living beings, Alex treated it as a mobile backpack, filled with various supplies and equipment. With old Batman's full support, Alex even stored a small mountain of gold there, knowing that gold and silver were valuable in most universes. This ensured he wouldn't be penniless in other worlds. With everything ready, Alex communicated with Miss Minutes to open a portal to a random multiverse. This time, Alex made sure the destination was set to Earth, fearing he might end up in outer space, which would be a death sentence. Thinking back to his first teleportation, Alex felt a chill. He had been lucky to land on Earth in that universe. We're off. Alex and his companions bid farewell, then stepped through the purple portal. In an instant, the damp air of the Batcave was replaced by a chilly breeze, as if they had entered an air-conditioned room. They found themselves in a dark alley, surrounded by garbage cans. The nearby high-rise buildings offered no clues about their location, and a few clouds drifted in the autumn sky. So this is another Earth's universe? This ability is always so amazing, Kara remarked, glancing around. Do you feel anything unusual? Alex asked, worried that different solar radiation in this universe might affect Kara. No, I feel fine. My powers aren't weakened, they might even be stronger, Kara replied, clenching her fist. Good. If anything feels off, let me know immediately. At that moment, Pietro chimed in, why do we always end up near garbage cans? Are you doing this on purpose, Alex? Alex cleared his throat, it's better than landing in the middle of a busy street. Remember, we're outsiders to this world's people. As they chatted, a sudden burst of police sirens sounded from the alleyway entrance. They looked towards the alley's narrow exit and saw an armored truck speeding by, followed by several police cars in hot pursuit. Chapter 68. A whole new world. Someone is robbing an armored cash truck. This was the first thought that came to Alex's and Pietro's minds. Meanwhile, Kara stood there staring blankly at everything. She had no idea what was happening outside the alley, and due to not growing up properly on Earth, she was clueless about many common things, like the current situation. The three of them quickly ran out of the alley onto the street following the sound. However, they saw that the armored truck had already disappeared at the end of the road, and the surrounding pedestrians and vehicles were too many, causing significant trouble for the police cars. After all, the robbers could disregard traffic laws, but for the police, if they caused a traffic accident while chasing criminals, it would be a significant loss. After taking a few glances from afar, Alex suddenly stopped Pietro, who was eager to rush out. It's a good thing I reacted quickly, or Pietro you would have just charged out. Do you plan on exposing your superpowers in public? But they are robbing and hurting so many people, Pietro said, but he was just saying it. After being stopped by Alex, he had no intention of moving again. There are people handling it. Those police? They can't catch up with those criminals at all, Pietro said, looking at the police cars that were left far behind. I'm not talking about them. Alex paused for a moment, then nodded towards the sky. Look, someone's coming. At his words, both Pietro and Kara looked up in the direction Alex pointed. In fact, not just them, but everyone around seemed to sense something, as they all looked up, exclaiming in surprise, some even taking out their phones to capture the scene in the sky. In the sky, amidst numerous tall buildings, a figure dressed in red and blue tight-fitting clothing was swiftly moving, holding a thin white thread in his hand as he swung between the high-rise buildings. With his rapid movement came a loud shout. Yo-ho! Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is here. The appearance of Spider-Man instantly caused cheers from the crowd. It seemed they were not seeing Spider-Man's heroics for the first time, many were fans of this superhero who wandered around New York punishing criminals. Wow! Pietro couldn't help but exclaim at the sight. It wasn't because he saw a superhero, it was because he saw how enthusiastic the people of this universe were about superpowered individuals. In his universe, almost everyone was very hostile towards mutants. This was something Alex didn't know about Pietro's inner thoughts. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let him be so happy so soon. Different from those focusing on Spider-Man, Alex quickly shifted his gaze and casually picked up a newspaper from a nearby newsstand. He wanted to confirm which universe they were currently in. Shifting his gaze, Alex's eyes finally locked onto a few headlines in the newspaper. Stark Industries launches new energy industry, Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters enrollment brief, exclusive interview with Reed Richards. What are you looking at? Seeing Alex's completely different reaction from the others, Kara leaned over and asked quietly. I'm gathering information. The development of timelines in each universe is different. This can be clearly distinguished from superheroes, so I need to figure out which timeline this universe is in. Alex replied. My brother isn't in this universe, right? Kara asked again. Hearing this, Alex raised his eyebrows, put down the newspaper, and turned to Kara. How did you know? I just enhanced my senses earlier and didn't hear anyone mentioning the names of Metropolis and Gotham City. You said my brother is the protector of Metropolis, and since there's no Metropolis here, my brother isn't here either, right? Alex stared at Kara for a while, somewhat surprised that she could monitor the entire New York in such a short time. But he quickly adjusted and spoke. You're right. There are many parallel universes with superheroes, and obviously, this time we didn't arrive in the universe your nephew is in. Besides, there's no Batman, Flash, or Krypton here. Kara nodded slightly. After hearing Alex's words, she didn't show much, but Alex could see a hint of disappointment in her eyes. To this, Alex didn't know how to comfort her, so he could only raise his hand and pat her shoulder. Don't worry, I'm fine. I had already thought of this possibility earlier. Besides, as long as I'm with you, I'll see my nephew someday, right? Yeah, you will. Alex nodded. Kara quickly adjusted her emotions. Although this universe didn't have her nephew, she still didn't want to ruin Alex's mood, so she changed the subject. So, what kind of information did you gather just now? Can you confirm which universe we're in? It's a bit hard to say. Alex gave a bitter smile, then he looked up with a meaningful look at the scenery on the street. After seeing information about the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four on the newspaper, he immediately confirmed that this universe was definitely part of the Marvel Comics universe, and it had developed rapidly. From Reed Richards' beard, he could tell that the superheroes had long history in this universe. In this universe, being superhero was not a nascent profession but a great profession that had developed over many years, evolving through generations. Captain America had retired from Steve and passed on the mantle to Sam, making him the second Captain America. Thor had become the king of gods, guarding Asgard, and the current Thor was Jane Foster. Above outer space, the Sword Station of SWORD stood in the universe, constantly guarding against alien invasions on Earth. All these things brought more doubts to Alex. For example, did this universe have the Illuminati? Had superheroes here experienced 2 civil wars? Did the major events from the comics occur here? Without confirming these major events about various parallel universes, Alex felt a deep sense of vigilance towards this universe. Chapter 69. The Butcher Who Hunts Superheroes. In the southern part of Louisiana, New Orleans, numerous police cars surrounded a bar. Neon police lights flashed continuously, and despite the police having set up a cordon and dispatched several officers to maintain order, a large crowd still gathered outside the bar. Curious onlookers clustered beyond the police line, craning their necks to peer inside, trying to see what had happened. Among them were many tabloid reporters. In a relatively peaceful city like New Orleans, a major case like this could significantly boost their newspaper sales. From the outside, the bar looked completely wrecked. Not only was the door shattered to pieces, but the windows were also broken, with countless glass shards scattered everywhere, and spider web cracks appeared on the walls. Clearly, if it wasn't a bomb that did this, it had to be related to those with superpowers. Inside the bar, Cable's expression was grim. Although he had mentally prepared for the worst on his way here after receiving the intel, his face still darkened when he saw the scene inside the bar. On the largest table in the bar lay a man, eyes wide open in death. Anyone could recognize him at a glance. It was Gambit from the X-Men. Gambit, whose real name was Remy Etienne Lebeau, was a professional thief before his mutant genes awakened. He had worked for some villains, but after losing his memory and awakening the ability to charge objects with kinetic energy and cause them to explode, he reformed with the help of the X-Men. It was unimaginable that such a superhero from the X-Men would be killed in public. His signature weapon, playing cards, were scattered all over the floor, with many cards stuffed into his mouth by the killer. His own staff pierced through his chest, embedding straight into his body. This wasn't the first superhero to be killed. Although being a superhero often meant making countless enemies and facing the risk of sudden death, the deaths of several heroes in such a short period had drawn the attention of many. The first victim discovered was Black Widow. She lost contact during a covered mission, and when found by her colleagues, she was hanging dead in the air, the killer seemingly flaunting their deed. Later, the bodies of the invulnerable Luke Cage and Iron Fist were also found. Although these two weren't as famous as some top-tier superheroes, they weren't easy targets either. When their bodies were discovered, people were shocked by their gruesome deaths, as if the killer was a sadistic butcher. Moreover, this villain seemed to target superheroes specifically. Former S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury quickly responded. He used his influence to suppress the news of the heroes' deaths to prevent public panic and secretly formed a team to investigate the killer. Cable, a superhero from the future, was the first ally Nick Fury sought. This was not only because of Cable's formidable combat skills but also due to his exceptional insight and mission experience. Besides Cable, the team included other capable heroes, the Punisher, Moon Knight, the second-generation Hawkeye Kate Bishop, and relatives of the slain heroes Jessica Jones and Misty Knight. These heroes might not possess earth-shattering superpowers, but they had a keen sense for crime, especially street-level heroes like Moon Knight and the Punisher, whose detective skills rivaled any famous investigator. I hope we can find some clues quickly. Strictly speaking, we shouldn't be here. Time is short, and we need to find something useful before the military takes over, Cable said solemnly as he looked at the grisly scene. I remember this guy should be an X-Man. Cable, do you recognize him? Moon Knight asked. He had always operated alone, so he wasn't very familiar with other superheroes and their teams. Yes, I recognize him, Cable nodded, then added, but we weren't close. This guy had a complicated background, he was even a criminal before. That's true. Criminals hate people like him who reform. He used to belong to the Thieves Guild, right? Could they be behind this? The Punisher suggested. It's worth investigating, but I don't think so. The Thieves Guild is just a loose, small organization, they can't stir up much trouble. They also don't have the capability to carry out the other murders. After all, Luke Cage and Iron Fist aren't ordinary heroes. Exhaling, Moon Knight picked up a blood-stained playing card. As the blood dripped down the Joker's face on the card, Moon Knight murmured, "Trust me, whoever did this, they enjoyed it immensely." Meanwhile, in Brooklyn, New York, Alex and his companions had just finished arranging their rental. Though all three of them were undocumented in this world, the saying "money makes the world go round" wasn't a joke. With the wealth left by old Bruce Wayne, Alex quickly persuaded the money-loving landlord and moved in on the spot. Coming to a new world, especially one teeming with superheroes, was undeniably exciting. Even the usually aloof Kara began to develop a curiosity about this world. After all, before coming to Earth, she was just a 15-year-old child, and the battles between good and evil were only stories to her. Now, seeing these superhero tales unfold before her eyes, she was instantly captivated by their exploits. Let me be clear from now on, you better not use your superpowers casually, especially you, Pietro. You're the one I trust the least, Alex began a meeting as he sat on the sofa. What? What did I do? I've always been obedient, Pietro immediately jumped up, looking incredulous at Alex's suspicion. We've been through a lot together, I know you well enough, Alex remained unfazed by Pietro's reaction. Among the three of us, you're the most restless. 2 universes ago, you couldn't stay still. The last universe, you even snuck out to steal while I was asleep. That wasn't stealing, Pietro protested weakly, his voice growing smaller. I'm warning you, Pietro, this world has superheroes. Your speed is nothing to them, and until we confirm this world's safety, we must not reveal our identities. I don't want to be targeted by this world's heroes and villains. I get it, I'll behave. Pietro covered his face. Also, there's another point. This world has your counterpart, another Quicksilver. I don't know if you two look alike, but you'd better disguise yourself when you go out to avoid being recognized. Pietro's head drooped lower. After a long pause, he finally groaned softly. Got it. Chapter 70. Alex's speculation. After instructing Pietro, Alex turned his gaze to Kara. On this planet without kryptonite, Kara was definitely a terrifyingly powerful force, capable of destroying planets. Alex had no doubts about Kara's current combat strength. Even the gods of this planet might find Kara a formidable opponent. Alex, don't worry, I can stay in the house without going out, Kara immediately said when she noticed Alex's gaze on her. For her, it didn't matter if she went out or not. After all, there were televisions and computers here, and she could learn about the stories of the superheroes without leaving the house. No, you misunderstand. Actually, I hope you can go out and explore, Alex said, spreading his hands. Pietro was immediately indignant upon hearing this. Why? This is not fair. Why can she go out and have fun while I have to stay at home and go through the hassle of disguising myself? Because Kara is different from you. Firstly, she is an alien. To integrate into Earth's society, she needs to experience the civilization of this planet firsthand. This kind of social experience can't be learned online. Secondly, she doesn't have a counterpart in this world, so as long as she doesn't reveal her abilities, she won't attract attention. Saying this, Alex turned his head and smiled at Kara. Don't worry, it's very safe here. Even if there are supervillains, I doubt they can harm you. If you do encounter danger, just ensure your own safety and let the heroes handle it. Kara nodded, indicating she understood. It didn't matter much to her either way. Since Alex thought she should go out, she was happy to comply. Besides, she was naturally curious and liked to explore. After a brief conversation with the two, Alex announced the meeting was over and turned to go back to his room. As for Pietro and Kara, they did a bit of disguising and then went out. Pietro was eager to explore this new and safe world and wanted to experience all its games as soon as possible. Kara, on the other hand, was curious about everything. Unlike Pietro, who was keen on gaming, she wanted to taste the food and experience the culture of this world. Unaware that his two companions had become an internet-addicted teenager and a foodie, Alex sat in front of his computer, searching for interesting events in this world. Moving the mouse, Alex quickly found the information he wanted. Despite the presence of large surveillance organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D., some major events couldn't be covered up, and those were exactly what Alex was targeting. When he noticed that the Captain America of this universe was formerly the Falcon, Thor had become a female Thor, and besides Peter Parker, there was also Miles Morales as Spider-Man, he quickly deduced the general setting of this universe. This seemed to be a newly rebooted universe after Secret Wars, known as the all-new, all-different Marvel. The main part of this universe was still the pre-reboot 616 universe, but it had undergone significant changes. It not only included some heroes from the Ultimate Universe but also altered the origin stories of many heroes. Moreover, the development of this new universe was centered around generational change, with many old heroes having successors, such as Falcon Sam Wilson succeeding Captain America Steve Rogers, and Amadeus Cho succeeding Hulk Bruce Banner. In addition, female heroes and some lesser-known heroes were emerging like mushrooms after rain, with prominent figures including female Thor, Spider-Gwen, Captain Marvel, and X-23. So many superheroes, and even each state in America has its own self-organized superhero team, Alex mused, recalling the comic plots he had read in his previous life. As various pieces of information appeared on the computer screen, Alex's eyebrows slightly furrowed. To his surprise, there was a lot of information available online, but most of it was about unimportant events. Most of it was like which villain caused destruction and was then defeated by so and so, which were personal stories of the heroes and not helpful to Alex. Suddenly, a thought struck Alex. Could I have arrived at the time of Civil War too? Alex muttered to himself, and his eyes gradually brightened. As he looked at the information before him, the more he thought about it, the more he felt he was right. Although this world seemed very peaceful on the surface, with countless superheroes protecting people's lives, Alex didn't think it was truly safe. Hidden beneath this calm exterior could be catastrophic disasters that would leave everyone astounded. Until he was sure whether these disasters would happen, Alex could only be as cautious as possible and avoid drawing any attention. In the all-new, all-different universe, the first major event that occurred was undoubtedly Civil War II. In this event, due to the appearance of a person with precognitive abilities, Iron Man Tony Stark and Captain Marvel Carol Danvers had a disagreement over how to use this superpower. Captain Marvel wanted heroes to use the precognitive ability to prepare in advance and prevent disasters, while Iron Man believed that this ability was not always accurate and that using it was unethical and unreasonable. Their conflict escalated, and eventually, during a battle with Thanos, Captain Marvel's lover and Iron Man's close friend, War Machine Rhodey, was killed, which became the spark that ignited the Civil War. Later, the two led a group of heroes who supported them, resulting in the Second Civil War among superheroes. Many heroes were injured or killed in the battle, such as Bruce Banner being shot in the head by Hawkeye. Ultimately, the event ended with Iron Man being severely injured by Captain Marvel, but the war had a profound impact on the development of this universe. Thinking about this, Alex felt slightly relieved. While the Civil War event seemed significant and was a heavy blow to the superheroes on Earth in this universe, it was actually good news for Alex and his companions. Although the war had far-reaching consequences, it meant that the immediate danger might be less severe for them. However, Alex knew he still needed to stay cautious and avoid attracting attention until he was sure about the future events in this universe. Chapter 71. A hard-earned vacation. Originally, Alex just wanted to go to a slightly more peaceful universe to take a break. Alex's requirements weren't high, he didn't expect the Earth's universe to be entirely safe. At the very least, he hoped it wouldn't be in a constant state of imminent destruction like the previous two universes. Honestly, Alex's experiences in the Ruins universe and Flashpoint 1 universe were like being in perpetual flight. Apart from the final restful sleep at Wayne Manor, Alex was always on high alert, unable to relax. Now, having luckily arrived in a relatively peaceful Marvel universe, Alex finally felt he could take a proper break. No world-ending disasters, no extraterrestrial invasions threatening the entire planet. The only thing to worry about was the superheroes' civil war, which to Alex felt more like a vacation. The constant sense of crisis that had been haunting him finally eased. As he breathed a sigh of relief, Alex began to ponder if he could take advantage of this universe. After all, Alex had faced many superpowered beings. His experience surpassed many second- and third-tier superheroes, but Alex wasn't satisfied yet. In these perilous multiverses, catastrophic events were commonplace. Alex believed that his current strength was far from sufficient for self-preservation, let alone handling unexpected crises. As for Kara, no one knew her combat prowess better than Alex. However, Kara's power came from the radiation of the yellow sun, and Alex couldn't guarantee that her strength would remain at its peak in other universes. This made Alex eager to improve his own combat capabilities. In this universe, Iron Man's suit seemed like a quick way to enhance his fighting power. Additionally, learning some magic might also give him a few more cards up his sleeve. Stretching lazily, Alex stood up from his computer. Now that he had a plan, he had nothing to worry about. These things couldn't be achieved overnight. Whether it was Iron Man's suit or magical abilities, getting these things meant interacting with superheroes or supervillains. Alex hadn't yet figured out how to communicate with the people of this world. After all, there were too many heroes here, and human hearts are unpredictable. He couldn't be sure that the people here would be as straightforward as old Batman. Walking out of his room, Alex made himself a cup of tea. He hadn't enjoyed such a leisurely tea time in a long while. In his original world, Alex loved drinking tea, but after crossing over, he didn't get the chance. Later, at Bruce Wayne's place, he rekindled his love for tea. Miss Minutes, do you think this is the Marvel 616 main universe? Alex asked slowly, looking at the sunset outside. As Alex spoke, Miss Minutes appeared out of nowhere, jumping onto Alex's shoulder to watch the sinking sun with him. Alex hadn't told anyone about Miss Minutes, not even to Pietro and Kara. They only knew Alex had a machine that could open portals, they knew nothing else. It wasn't that Alex deliberately hid it from them, but the secrets behind the time pad were too significant. Alex himself only had a partial understanding, let alone explaining it to them. I don't know. There are no records in the archives. I'm not sure how this timeline will develop, but I can record this universe. That way, anything that happens within this timeline will be documented. Alex frowned. Recording a timeline was something he always wanted to do. Currently, the time controller had only the timeline of Pietro's birthplace, the Ruins universe. Documenting the entire universe from its birth to its extinction brought immense benefits to Alex, as shown in the assassination of General Zid. Moreover, Alex could travel to any point in that universe's timeline at will. This power made that universe feel like a backyard to Alex. He could do anything he wanted there. He could even appear as a divine figure in the early days of Earth's civilization in that universe, uniting the entire planet. However, the consequences of such actions were unpredictable. The Time Variance Authority could wantonly disrupt timelines because they had the Time Trimmer, which could destroy any time branch at will. Alex couldn't do that. If he did something that significantly altered the universe's development, Alex didn't doubt that the universe would immediately split into multiple parallel universes, escaping Miss Minutes' observation and developing or destroying themselves. Worse, it could affect other universes, leading to catastrophic consequences. This was the fundamental reason why Alex had a vast treasure trove but dared not act rashly. Now, in this universe, his old idea resurfaced. If he could document this main universe's timeline, could he then travel to points before secret wars, potentially gaining significant benefits despite the risks of disrupting the timeline? Seeing Alex's interest, Miss Minutes added, "It will take 86% of the energy and 211 days to record this universe. If you want to document this timeline, it's best to charge the energy first." That much? Alex was surprised. Documenting Flashpoint 1 didn't take nearly that much energy or time. Could this be because of some peculiarity in this timeline? The Flashpoint 1 universe in the archives is a man-made time branch, with few powerful beings and facing destruction, requiring minimal energy and time. The only reason for some energy and time needed was the universe's vastness. Understanding Miss Minutes' explanation, Alex nodded thoughtfully. He wasn't well versed in the differences between universes. In that case, let's not consider this for now. I should first focus on contacting those superheroes. Finding an energy source for you isn't easy. As he spoke, the sound of keys jangling came from outside. Alex turned his head at the sound, and Miss Minutes vanished into thin air. Opening the door, Pietro and Kara walked in one after the other. Chapter 72. New World, New Atmosphere. Welcome back. How was your outing? Alex immediately greeted them, judging by the satisfied smiles on their faces, it seemed like they had a great time. As soon as Pietro entered, he threw himself onto the couch and started talking while taking off his wig. It was amazing. Alex, you missed out big time by not coming with us. We found this awesome restaurant, and then we went to an amusement park with lots of interesting stuff. Oh, and do you remember that Spider-Man we saw before? We saw him fighting a rhino guy on the street. Listening to Pietro's excited recounting, Alex just nodded with a smile, taking the bag from Kara's hands and opening it. Inside, there were all sorts of miscellaneous items. What did you guys buy? Seeing the assortment of items, Alex couldn't help but shake his head in amusement. Pietro quickly divided the bag into several parts. Oh, we bought a bunch of clothes. Since the weather is getting colder, and we haven't gotten new clothes for a while, I'm okay, but Kara doesn't have many clothes. She hasn't even worn underwear before. Cough cough, you bought underwear for Kara. Alex nearly choked on his tea, realizing after all this time that Pietro, the careless boy, actually had such a thoughtful side. Even Alex himself hadn't considered Kara's need for underwear, or rather, he hadn't thought about it at all. Who would care about a teenage girl picking out underwear? Given Kara's combat prowess, Alex subconsciously ignored the fact that she was still a 15-year-old girl at heart. Looking at him, Pietro didn't seem embarrassed at all. Yeah, anyway, we also need to buy a few more sets of clothes to change into. Our styles weren't available at old Bruce's place, and we didn't have time to buy before. Now we finally got the chance. Not bad, you're quite considerate. Alex nodded in agreement. With Pietro's words, he also suddenly realized that his own clothes hadn't been washed for a long time, emitting a strange smell. Of course, by the way, do you think this outfit I picked for Kara looks good? It's the latest style. The people at the clothing store said I have a great eye for fashion and that I'm really good at matching. Pietro pointed at Kara, showing off. Shifting his gaze, Kara finished putting away her things and came over to Alex. It wasn't until then that Alex took a good look at Kara's attire. Her short hair had been neatly trimmed, giving her a more heroic look. She wore a black crop top with cats printed on it, and over it, a black leather jacket with some studs and metal chains as embellishments. Her lower half was in loose-fitting jeans with a few tears at the knee. With this outfit, Kara, who already had a bit of a neutral beauty, immediately transformed into a cool girl. With this look, anyone who saw her would call her Big Sis. What left Alex speechless was the tattoo on Kara's exposed belly, and even metal earrings to match the whole outfit. Piercing on a steel body, are you kidding me? Alex looked at Pietro incredulously, hoping this guy could give him a reasonable explanation. It's fake, no piercings. These are clip-on earrings, and the tattoo is a temporary one. How about it, cool or not? Pietro grinned and gave a thumbs up. Upon seeing this, Alex shifted his gaze back to Kara, sensing her discomfort. Pietro told me that most people on Earth dress like this, and I think it looks pretty good. It's not bad looking. It's just that your outfit caught me off guard, Alex said as he put down his teacup and picked up the other bags on the table. Reminded by Pietro, Alex realized that he needed to face the beautiful new world ahead. At least now he had money and could enjoy the services he had never experienced before. But what Alex was most curious about was what outfits Pietro had picked for him. If they were similar to Kara's style, the three of them could form a rock band right away. Fortunately, Pietro's taste had normalized quite a bit on Alex. The clothes in the bags were mostly mature men's high-neck sweaters, khaki vests, suits with trousers, and long trench coats, which made Alex breathe a sigh of relief. By the way, you mentioned earlier that you saw Spider-Man fighting Rhino. Alex, while organizing his clothes in the bag, steered the conversation back to the superheroes of this universe. Yeah, Spider-Man is so cool. That dumb Rhino wasn't his match at all. Spider-Man easily knocked him down, and then he was quickly arrested by the arriving police, Pietro said excitedly, his face full of longing. Peter Parker, the Spider-Man you mentioned, is indeed very powerful. His strength, speed, and reflexes are top-notch, and he appears to be at ease in combat, even using language to distract and mislead his opponents, Kara added. To this, Alex just chuckled. Actually, most superheroes don't talk as much during fights as he does. He's just a chatterbox, not as deep as you think. But one thing you said is right, Spider-Man's combat prowess is indeed top-notch. Wait a minute, how do you know Spider-Man's name is Peter Parker? Pietro suddenly realized something and exclaimed. I saw it, Kara said innocently, pointing to her eyes. I can clearly see his hidden identity under the battlesuit and his press card in his pocket, which indeed has the name Peter Parker. Peter Parker, why does that name sound so familiar? Pietro muttered, rubbing his chin as he tried to recall where he had heard the name before. Thinking for a moment, Alex gently reminded Pietro, the house we used to live in, that was his house. The house we used to live in, Pietro suddenly remembered something and slapped the table. I remember now, he's Peter Parker, the one who was bitten by a radioactive spider in a chemical experiment, got a terminal illness, and his family was destroyed. Alex glanced at Kara, who seemed lost in thought, and then nodded with a smile. Yes, but in this world, that spider didn't bring him illness. Instead, it turned him into the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for the people of New York. Chapter 73. This place is very safe. That's how it is, that's how it is, Pietro repeated, his emotions gradually intensifying. Despite appearing to be an irresponsible troublemaker, Pietro was far from stupid. In fact, with his mutant abilities granting him a super brain, he could quickly grasp many things. Rapidly recalling and comparing the similar yet different aspects of the two worlds, coupled with Alex's previous explanations about other universes, Pietro's eyes grew increasingly bright. The two worlds were very similar yet vastly different, and this was not only reflected in Peter Parker. This world also had the Avengers and Tony Stark, but they were not extreme terrorists. Instead, they were superheroes saving people and maintaining world peace. This world also had Thor and Doctor Strange, but they were not madmen lost in delusions. They were powerful beings capable of wielding magic and controlling the elements. Everything was different now. What's wrong with him? Kara asked, confused by Pietro's sudden erratic behavior. It's nothing. He just figured some things out, Alex said casually. Each universe was connected yet different. Though Alex wasn't an expert in physics and rarely understood parallel universe theories in his previous life, experiencing several universes firsthand had given him some insights into the differences between multiverses. Commonly, most parallel universes were filled with hope. Even amid disasters and sacrifices, heroes always upheld their unyielding spirit to overcome difficulties, something Alex deeply admired. However, there were always exceptions. As the saying goes, where there is light, there is darkness. Opposite those hopeful multiverses are the dark multiverses steeped in despair. Previously, Alex had always scoffed at the idea of the dark multiverse. But after experiencing Pietro's ruined universe firsthand, Alex began to take these ominous, chaotic multiverses more seriously. No wonder you said my universe wasn't worth saving. It seems you were right, Pietro said, slumping on the sofa with a heavy sigh. You understand now. Alex walked over to Pietro, patting his shoulder in comfort. When hope is gone and heroes turn into madmen, the collapse of that civilization is only a matter of time. I know, but I still can't understand why that universe fell so far, Pietro said, feeling disheartened. Seeing Pietro looking somewhat dazed, Alex felt a bit helpless. Upon seeing this hopeful universe, Pietro would inevitably connect it to the tragic events of his own birth universe. Even Alex didn't know how to comfort him. That universe was Pietro's home, and he had a fundamental sense of belonging to it, something Alex and Kara couldn't truly understand. All right, it's all in the past. We are in a new world now. We should look forward and enjoy the present. Listening to Alex's advice, Pietro thought for a moment before nodding firmly. Alex, you're right. I should move on. I don't belong there, I belong here, with our little team. You are my family. This is my home. Seeing Pietro regain his composure, Alex couldn't help but smile. That's my good brother. We've just saved one universe and come to such a beautiful place, we should enjoy it. Pietro and Kara exchanged a smile, and the atmosphere became much more cheerful. Seeing the smiles return to their faces, Alex naturally took out 2 cups and poured them some tea. Don't worry, this place is very safe. No, it's not safe here. At the intersection of 42nd Street and Madison Avenue, on the top floor of the Baxter Building, Cable clenched his fists tightly as he looked at the infuriating scene before him. The Baxter Building, owned by the Fantastic Four, was a towering base that reached into the clouds. Inside, it housed research labs, supercomputer rooms, and many other experimental facilities, along with a plethora of high-tech products. It was one of the most advanced technological places in the world. As the first superhero team to appear worldwide, the headquarters of the Fantastic Four was located here. The top few floors of the Baxter Building had been converted into living quarters where the Fantastic Four would carry out their daily activities. While conducting cutting-edge scientific research, they also enjoyed a wonderful life. But at this moment, this incredibly luxurious place had turned into a gruesome murder scene. In the room of Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards' children, the eldest son Franklin and the youngest daughter Valeria were forever lost in their sleep, never to awaken again. At the door of the room lay their mother, the invisible woman Susan, in a pool of blood. The killer struck while they were asleep. The wounds are all in the heart, a single fatal blow, Moon Knight concluded after a simple examination of the 2 children's bodies. The target was clearly the children. What kind of monster would do something so cruel? Kate Bishop, the second Hawkeye, breathed heavily. She had a good relationship with the Fantastic Four and was often invited to gatherings. Seeing such a brutal scene, a surge of anger rose from her heart. They were good people. This tragedy should not have happened to them. But it has, Cable said through gritted teeth. If we don't find this criminal quickly, other superheroes will be targeted next. We shouldn't keep this under wraps any longer. Nick Fury doesn't understand the severity of this situation. We must inform the other superheroes, or everyone will be in danger, Kate insisted. What do you want us to say? It's been so long, and many of our friends have already sacrificed their lives. If we tell others now that we kept this information to ourselves and investigated alone, Don't you think they'll come after us? Kate was infuriated. So we should keep hiding it. Our investigation hasn't yielded any results, and we have no useful information until now. Should we use others' lives as clues to solve this case? While the others argued, Moon Knight continued to observe the scene, trying to find clues about the killer and how the crime was committed without alerting anyone. After carefully thinking it over, Moon Knight stood up slowly and spoke in a serious tone, interrupting the others' quarrel. I know how the killer murdered them. Chapter 74. A beautiful morning. The murderer has a strong ability to infiltrate. He managed to bypass the security of the Fantastic Four and sneak in here without anyone noticing. This means his abilities are even greater than we imagined, and his target was clear, starting with Reed's 2 children. Moon Knight walked to the children's bed and gestured in the air, mimicking the murderer's posture to reconstruct the crime scene. The weapon used was a knife. This could be his usual weapon, but it might also be a way to mislead our judgment. At dawn, when Susan saw that her children hadn't gotten up, she went to call them for breakfast. As he spoke, Moon Knight moved to the door of the room. There, the invisible woman lay on her back on the floor, a clear bullet hole in the center of her head. When the others arrived, Susan's eyes were open, and there was a touch of serenity in them, as if she hadn't expected to be killed by an enemy. Seeing this, Carter sorrowfully closed her eyes with his hand. Susan's death was sudden, without any resistance. This indicates she was killed by the murderer without any preparation. After killing the 2 children, the murderer hid here and waited until the unprepared Susan pushed the door open. As for the Human Torch, the Thing, and Mr. Fantastic, they were all successively killed by the murderer in surprise attacks. This shows the murderer knows the Fantastic Four very well. Not just them, he likely investigated all the superheroes before starting these assassination plans. Everyone quietly listened to Moon Knight's reconstruction. Finally, the Punisher couldn't hold back any longer. He pushed Moon Knight aside and hurriedly said, "What's the use of talking about this now? Even if we know how he committed the murders, we can't identify him. I say we should thoroughly investigate the enemies of the Fantastic Four. The murderer being able to do this must be related to those villains." Kong. Cable frowned. If we talk about the enemies of the Fantastic Four, then Conqueror Kong is definitely the most threatening one. Moreover, Kong isn't just the enemy of the Fantastic Four but of all superheroes. If anyone could do such a thing, Kong would be the prime suspect. But he hasn't appeared in a long time, and he exists in various timelines. Even if we want to investigate him, it won't be easy. Cable, can you think of any way? Moon Knight asked after thinking for a while. Honestly, I'm not sure. Kang's existence is a peculiar one, and I can't track his exact location. Even the Fantastic Four, who specialize in temporal theory, can't do that. Cable shook his head. But I don't think the murderer is Kong. Why? Only Kong has the motive and ability, doesn't he? That's true, but without absolute certainty, Kong wouldn't do this. Even he can't bear the consequences of disrupting the timeline. He's not from this timeline, and if he killed so many heroes here, it could cause a timeline collapse. If the timeline collapses, you know the consequences as well as I do. It could trigger a new round of multiverse wars, causing them to collide and even annihilate each other. But we can't rule out Kong as a suspect, can we? He's a madman from the future. How can you guarantee that he or his variants wouldn't commit such atrocities? Kate stared at Cable, hoping he could provide an explanation. Hold on a second, I agree with Cable on this point. The murderer might really not be Kong. Moon Knight spoke up, stepping between the group and speaking slowly. Many of us have faced Kong and understand his abilities. But this time, the murderer's weapons were a knife and a small caliber handgun. Using these antiques isn't Kang's style. Pausing for a moment, Moon Knight continued, I also considered whether the murderer left these as a red herring, but I don't think so. The murderer didn't seem to be hiding his identity at all. Each time he committed a crime, his methods were brutal, almost as if he was flaunting it to us. But even if you're right, the clues involving the knife and the handgun are too broad. We can't investigate them thoroughly. Just in New York alone, there are countless criminals using knives and guns, the Punisher said coldly. There are many criminals, but not many who could pull this off, Moon Knight said quickly, pointing to the scene of the Fantastic Four massacre. I think we can investigate this detail. Sometimes, the truth is closer than you think. It was another beautiful morning. After a simple meal of instant noodles, Alex stepped out of his house. In New York, breakfast culture was actually quite declining. Most people had unappetizing food like bread or cereal for breakfast. Some, who had the means, would make pancakes with fried eggs and ham. However, people rushing to work would usually opt for a roadside fast food restaurant. People's eating habits can't change overnight. Used to having home-cooked breakfast, Alex found it hard to develop a taste for the local breakfast, so he had to make do with toast and egg. Walking down the street, the surroundings gradually became lively. The hurried passers-by and early morning joggers made the entire city district come alive. Experiencing this scene, Alex almost forgot this was a world with superheroes. Previously, Alex had been focusing on gathering information about this world and hadn't personally experienced its life. So today, Alex decided to relax and think about how to gain some benefits from being here. If there was one thing in this world that intrigued Alex, it was definitely the various superpowers. Having lived in a materialistic world for so long, who wouldn't want to explore these supernatural phenomena? There are many superpowers in the Marvel Universe. Whether it's mutants or Inhumans, they all have their unique, powerful abilities. However, these genetic mutations and body modifications are too uncontrollable, and Alex was quite averse to them, so he dismissed them first. After ruling out some forces that he couldn't control, like the Phoenix Force or the power cosmic, Alex finally set his sights on magic and sorcery. Chapter 75. Magic and Curses. Sorcery, or magic, in the Marvel Universe is a mysterious force that exists across various dimensions. Unlike superpowers that come from personal mutations, magic requires one to learn, explore continuously, and establish connections with powerful beings from other dimensions to acquire those mystical powers. For thousands of years, these energies have spanned the globe, causing earth-shattering changes on Earth and even across the universe. This forbidden knowledge, like a curse, entangles all wizards. This is a method of using specific mystical energies to establish connections with other dimensional forces, fundamentally existing beyond the detectable scientific realm led by technology. Simply put, this power utilizes mysterious forces that science cannot fathom. It can even achieve unimaginable feats like reality distortion, energy simulation, astral projection, and soul forging. The fundamental rule of magical power is equivalent exchange. In this regard, it has some similarities with alchemy, though Alex didn't know much about it. He only knew that learning magic in the Marvel Universe was not an easy task. Besides needing the talent to wield magic, establishing connections with forbidden entities is inherently dangerous. In this universe, the person who could help Alex safely learn this knowledge would undoubtedly be Dr. Strange. Dr. Strange was originally an excellent neurosurgeon with an exceptional medical talent. However, due to a car accident, his hands could no longer perform precise surgeries. He then turned to various methods to try to heal his hands. Ultimately, in his despair, he sought answers beyond science. He was chosen by the Ancient One and began learning magic, using these mystical powers to protect the world. On the surface, Dr. Strange might not seem very impressive, but in reality, he is renowned among Earth's wizards and even among sorcerers from other dimensions. Having him teach Alex magic would certainly yield twice the result with half the effort. However, Alex didn't plan to do that. While Dr. Strange's power is indeed formidable, his stubborn, arrogant, and somewhat twisted personality was not something Alex could accept. Moreover, being an intruder from another universe, Dr. Strange might not just refuse to teach Alex magic, he'd consider it polite if he didn't try to lock him up. Additionally, Dr. Strange himself is an unstable factor. Alex didn't want too much contact with him for now. When there's danger, Dr. Strange is the safest. When there's no danger, Dr. Strange is the most dangerous. After much consideration, Alex decided to start with the basics. There may not seem to be many wizards on Earth, but in reality, there are more than one might think. Besides Dr. Strange, many capable and resourceful wizards are scattered around. Getting these people to provide a magical introduction would be enough. But finding these people is far beyond Alex's capabilities. Those who possess forbidden knowledge and hide in the city or dark sewers are not something an ordinary person can detect. Fortunately, he had a Kryptonian sister who was powerful enough to monitor the entire Earth. New York, Hell's Kitchen. In a damp and dark alley, a somewhat hunched old man was groping his way forward in the darkness. One of his eyes was blind, and his breathing sounded like a broken bellows, as if he could die at any moment. The ground in the alley was very damp, with a drainage channel running along the wall, leading to the sewer. Perhaps due to a recent rain, foul-smelling water flowed through it. The old man silently traversed the alley, picking up discarded items from trash bins. In Hell's Kitchen, places like this were not uncommon. Every night, the old man could find many valuable items here and sell them for a good price before sunrise. Every few steps in the alley, there was a fluorescent lamp. Though the light was dim due to years of neglect, it was enough to illuminate the old man's path in the pitch-black night. Finally, the old man arrived at a trash bin. This was not an ordinary round recycling bin but a pile of giant metal boxes filled with garbage. The old man quickly approached and carefully searched. After shooing away a few rats foraging for food, he found some valuable scraps amidst the leftover food and foul-smelling refuse. Perhaps it was his lucky day, the old man discovered a discarded lamp. It was a beautiful item with a glass cover and a metal cage. Though slightly damaged, it could fetch a good price if repaired. Holding the lamp like a treasure, the old man's otherwise expressionless face showed a hint of a happy smile. But the next moment, his smile froze. Tisk, 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 they say the industry is in decline, but I never thought that someone extraordinary like you would end up scavenging for trash. The old man turned around sharply, only to see, under the pale light, a black-clad figure wearing a bird-beak mask abruptly appear in his sight. Seeing this eerie figure, the old man slowly straightened up, cursing himself inwardly for losing his basic sense of vigilance over the years. John Falsworth, right? The light from the lamp illuminated the figure from the waist down, leaving the upper body hidden in darkness, making it difficult to see. You've got the wrong person. The old man frowned and replied hoarsely. I think not. At least I can tell if you're human or not. Honestly, when I found you, I was quite surprised. Even I didn't expect you to still be alive. As he spoke, the black figure took a few steps forward, fully emerging into the light. Seeing the bizarre bird-beak mask and the faint glimmer of light reflecting off its lenses, the old man, named John Falsworth, couldn't help but take a few steps back, his expression becoming agitated. He reached out with a trembling hand, trying to keep the figure at bay, and spoke in a shaky voice. What do you want? I retired a long time ago. I don't care what kind of freak organization you belong to, but I swear I've washed my hands of all this. I've been living under an alias for years and haven't done anything bad.